views and opinions expressed in this broadcast are those of the host/guest and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any of BXR entities and those they represent.
Hey, what's up, people? Welcome to the Artist Exchange Radio Show here live only on BigExposedRadio.com. I'm your host, Nate, and we have a special show today. We have a young man on, a singer, songwriter, and we're going to learn a little bit more about him and what he does. And then on the last half of the show, we're going to talk a little bit about some hot topics, some things going on in the world today, shootings. Of course, I'm always going to give you a little bit about the school system and how all that stuff is affecting said school system. And then some other hot topics that we have on the roster today. But I wanted to open up by saying, first of all, thank everyone for all the birthday wishes. If you were not aware, my birthday was on Tuesday. And I started it off with a little bang. I got a little happy for the birthday. But thank you to everyone who came out. Everybody that's been Cash Apping me. It still works, so you can still continue to send your Cash Apps, $ Boot Prince. Thanks for all the gifts. Thanks for everybody who came through. Shout out to my friend Tracy Jiggets. My cousin Ray for really holding me down. Everybody that came through, George, Crystal, Tamika, Sequoia, Crystal Bevel, Crystal Gatlin, and everybody that I will be seeing this weekend. Everybody's been doing great things. I got a nice breakfast at work this morning, some nice balloons, and just thank you for all the shout outs. This year meant a little bit more to me. Only because of what we've gone through the pandemic. I spent 2 birthdays in a row in the house. So this one meant a little bit more. First time I've been able to get out in a couple years, literally, to celebrate. So just thank you. As the school year closes out, we'll be transitioning on to some summer projects. We're still working hard on the one project. You thought I was him, so you'll be able to get more information if you go to the Facebook page or the Instagram page. But You Thought I Was Him with the letter U, Thought I Was Him, all one word. You'll get more updates. We're now starting our audition process. There are a number of dates that we have for you to come audition. All you have to do is email us at youthoughtIwashim, and that's what you, the letter U, thought I was him, @gmail.com, and you'll be able to get more information. Just send out a request and let us know that you want to. All the early comers will be able to pick a time slot, and everybody else will have to just wait in line if they show up the day of. But I'm really excited about that. I have a couple more projects that I'll be revealing in the next couple of weeks as I kind of transition out of teacher mode and switch back to full-time artist mode. A number of projects. Our website will be up and running very soon. Shout out to Sharon Nixon. And then I was a part of this program that was sponsored by GoDaddy. So they have given me all these techniques on building a great website and SEO, marketing, branding, all those things. So I'll have a lot more in my arsenal to be able to give to you. Also, 2 events that I went to this weekend. I did a couple interviews at the American Craft Show. And that was really a great space down at the convention center. I met a lot of artists, a lot of talented artists, and they'll be on the show throughout the summer. So look forward to those interviews. We still have a number of, starting back in June. I kind of took a break in May. We'll be doing pop-ups here at my art studio at 1734 Maryland Avenue. And then tomorrow, we'll be here for a regular pop-up. So come on by. And then the celebration, the Gemini shenanigans will continue on. And I'll be doing a number of things throughout the weekend. So look out for some information on my pages, my personal page, Instagram, Twitter, all the pages, and you'll be able to see where we are and come on out and join us. Shout out to the empanada lady who hosted the happy hour for my birthday this Tuesday. Delicious food. If you have not eaten there, is right at Motor House at North Avenue and Howard Street. Delicious food. I believe she's open Wednesday or Tuesday through Sunday, actually. And once a month, she does a big happy hour. They had steamed crabs and lobster tails along with her regular menu. And she just launched her crab empanada, I believe, for the spring and summer. So definitely get down there to her, 120 West North Avenue. And we may go past there again. I have a couple friends who could not make it Tuesday who wanted to join me there for happy hour. And they have happy hour every day, but she has one big happy hour once a month. So look forward to that. We may be there next month, vending the jewelry as well as doing some live interviews. So look out for that. But without further ado, I want to introduce our guest for the day, I'm going to let him introduce himself. So once
Hi, how y'all doing today?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. My name is Marcelin. Yes.
I didn't know where you wanted to go, so I was like, let me just introduce.
A lot of people will say Marcelin, but it's Marcelin with like an accent on the E. Yeah.
Okay, where'd you get the name from?
My middle name is Marcellus, and my former artist name used to be LJ Taylor. And I didn't really think it was original or like unique. I mean, it was original, but it wasn't really unique. So I made the decision to change my name to Marcelin to kind of give it more like star power, I could say, like to give it more like a household name or like to be a brand. So I took my middle name and cut the end off and put an ending on it and switched it up a little bit.
I haven't seen you in a long time. I remember meeting him when he was much younger. And I recall him big. I think you went to an art school, right?
I went to Cardinal Sheehan School in Baltimore for elementary and middle school, but I was in the choir.
Oh, with Miss Kenyatta.
Yes, that was my teacher.
Miss Kenyatta. So
my teacher and my boss.
And I love Kenyatta. She's a very powerful. Her and her mom were very great singers. So is that where the music starts? So without further ado, this gentleman is a great singer. I've heard some of your music, and you have a really nice voice.
Thank you so much.
To me, because I never heard you talk before. So now I know that you were a singer. I knew you were into the arts, but to actually see you perform or listen to you perform rather, it was nice, really great.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Much love and respect in everything that you do, because we have to support each other.
Right.
But you are talented, so you're worthy of it. So where did this musical side of you come from? Or when did it start, rather?
Well, I started singing when I was about 4. And my mother's side of my family is musical. My grandfather's a preacher and he can sing, and his brothers, all of the siblings, like my grandfather's siblings, including my grandfather, knows how to play piano. They're talented church musicians, pianists, organists. So the aspect of music has always been in my family for a very long time. But I chose the route of singing. Oh, I didn't really choose it. I would like to say it chose me. Because, I mean, I used to sing with my mom when I was maybe like 2 or 3 that I can remember. But I really started taking it seriously when my mother put me in the choir when I was 4. I was 4 or 5. One of them. I was about 4 or 5. And from then I would sing in the choir. I would have solos. I would have a lot of solos. I would perform in full-length musical productions because I was a part of the drama club in Cardinal Sheehan as well. And like productions like Grease or like High School Musical or Shrek. That was one of my favorites. So I did that all the way up until I graduated 8th grade, and then I went to Baltimore School for the Arts. Majored in vocal performance, which is straight classical, straight opera. So that really built my voice in a very, very, very intensive way. And I would perform, a lot of opera, and a lot of musicians like to call opera the basics and the foundation of your voice. So that really did help me, build my voice in a lot of ways. And and I graduated, and now I make my own music.
How long has it been since you left BSA?
It's 20 a year.
A year?
Yeah, I graduated last June.
So my friend Rosalind
I love
Couser is you all's new principal or executive director. How was it like having this breath of fresh air, this Black woman, this Black energy infused into your education?
I graduated before she became the principal, unfortunately. So it would have been beautiful if she was. I love Roz. Roz is one of my favorite people I've met at BSA. But I graduated when I graduated in June. She came in September.
Okay.
But
she was already there, but she became...
Yeah, she was already there. She was the theater department head, and a lovely lady. She's an angel sent from above. She's a great person.
Great. I always ask once I know students who have been there. Not so much. I know Roz was great, but how do you all like that new energy? Because you all have had a Black student union for a number of years, but now you all are getting much more play on your Instagram page, and the alumni is really being able to speak out. And a lot of things that have gone wrong there are actually now, in the
light.
Yeah. And I learned from Roz that it was a Black woman who actually started that school. So understanding the history of it, and now it being full circle with her being at the helm of it,
yes.
I know you all are going to thrive, and especially as alumni, you all will have a bigger voice and a say in terms of what goes on there. So I'm hopeful that you all will be able to keep that legacy going there. Outside of music, you said you did theater as well?
Yes, I've acted for, 2005. I'm sorry for the noises outside. My window's open. It's really hot outside. From 2008 to 2017, so almost 10 years, or 2017, almost around 10 years I've been acting in middle school every single year.
And I didn't know that I knew that they had the big musicals, or they did musicals at Cardinal Shan, but I didn't know that they had that much of a theater program. I only would know of their musical side, like the choirs and the concerts that they would do. Did you always want to be a singer, or was it just something that you did and then you stumbled into the business?
I've always wanted to be a singer. It's the thing I can do the best, and it's the thing I've always been able to do the best of everything I can do. And I mean, in high school, I did have moments where I'd be like, maybe I want to be this, maybe I want to be that. I want to be an actor for a good year, maybe a comedian or something. I've always wanted to be in the entertainment realm. Period. I wanted to be on stage doing something. So, but then as I left BSA junior year because of COVID. So I took all my classes online, and I was like, sheesh, I really do miss singing, even though I still sang. I still had my lessons. I still had all my classes. So I really do think that it was like a full circle moment. Like I went from being a singer up until like maybe junior year, or wanting to be like, do that with my life. And then I was like, let's try to explore some other things, but I always come back to doing what I do the best.
I like how you took on that opera aspect, just to diversify what you already know, and to ground you in some technique, because opera really teaches you how to keep your voice and how to maintain it. And most people don't understand that. Like there's a technique in knowing how to sing. You could have a nice voice, but if you don't know how to sing, it may not last as long.
Exactly.
And we see a lot of singers who lose it at some point. And there are other non-natural things that help you lose it. But if you don't know what you're doing, you can damage your voice tremendously. What did you learn about your voice at your time at BSA?
I learned how to support properly. I mean, I grew up singing in church, in school. My school was a Catholic school, so that was, and it wasn't like, we didn't sing Catholic hymns. We were an all-Black school, so we sang old church songs. And so I grew up singing in church.
You can get a little bit of everything.
Right. So singing those songs, like those church songs, we just told, push it from the diaphragm and yell. I'm like, and I did that for a long time until in BSA, I learned how to pace myself. And I learned to keep my voice in shape. And I learned singing is mental. Singing is mental and physical, top two. And I would even argue and say that it's more mental than anything. Because if you think you can do it, you can do it. If you think you can't do it, you're not going to be able to do it. So I do think I've learned at BSA that it's more of a mental thing than anything. It's definitely physical, engaging your chest cavity, your diaphragm, your back muscles, your knees, all of it to just produce a note and hold it and support it. So I feel like those are some of the things I learned at BSA, how to properly support. Singing is mental, and singing is an art form. Singing is learning. Singing is learning and applying. Yes.
I've never heard it quite said that way, but it does, a lot of people don't look at like gospel music as a technique, but it's still a technique nevertheless.
It is.
But learning all of the bases of music, or a lot of the bases of music, will give you such a range and such a strength in your tone and all of, people don't understand the technique of it. They just think that Whitney Houston was born that way, but that's a lot of training and a lot of, patience and kind of building that up to that. What is the hardest thing about voice and technique and just singing in general? What's the hardest thing for you? Or what's your major struggle?
My major struggle? That is a really good question. I would say my major struggle is, you really got me with this one. This is a really good question.
Well, this wasn't an easy interview, sir. This wasn't going to be easy for you.
I'm up for the challenge. My major struggle in terms of technique and singing, it might be really specific, but switching in between my chest voice and my head voice, I'd say I have a very powerful chest voice, and I'd say my head voice is very nice too. But there's a break.
Explain to people what that is. Some people don't understand.
So your chest voice. So with your voice, you have different registers. You have a vocal fry, which is the lowest register. So you know how people go like bubbles, like in your vocal cords. Your vocal cords are small. It's like the size of a quarter. So you barely let any voice come through it, so it sounds like a vocal fry. Then you move up to your chest and your diaphragm, your chesty singing, your loud singing, or I guess you could call it normal singing as well, but if you're using your chest voice, that's usually the voice that is most heard when people are singing. And then from there, you go up to your head. Well, no, you go up to your mix, where you can kind of mix in between your head voice and your chest voice. And mixing, you can mix belt, which is sustaining a very loud note, or sustaining a very supported note for a while. And your mix helps you not put so much stress on your vocal cords, but still be able to carry the sound out. And then once you move up through your passaggio, which is the break between your chest and your head, then you go to your head, which is your falsetto. A lot of female opera singers use falsettos, like a lot of sopranos will sing a lot of the times in straight head voice the whole time they are singing. So your head voice is the highest part of your voice, and it goes down to the mix, down to the chest. And a lot of people don't use their vocal fries. Some people do. There's a video of what's her name, Rochelle Farrell, singing in her vocal fries. She's like on stage. I thought it was beautiful. But yeah, Some people use that, but so I'd say the struggle that I've gotten way better, but something I've struggled with, especially in the past, is switching in between my chest and my head and the passaggio, which is called the break. But when you go up, sometimes like you'll crack.
Mm-hmm.
So getting a smooth flow and like fade from your head all the way down to your chest was a struggle for me in the past, but I feel like that's something I have worked on and I'm still working on. It's always a work in progress.
So do you still take lessons, or do you have a coach that goes along with you or
Well,
continues to support you?
I do. No, not right now, but I do kind of like, I would say I coach myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I still like, and this is another thing that we learned in BSA too. If you don't have anybody, have yourself when it comes to your voice.
Mm-hmm.
So I always do my warm-ups, my lip trills, my all that. I go from my top all the way down to my bottom. And that helps with, not breaking, but kind of breaking the break, like smoothing the transition that I was talking about. So I do all my exercises that my teacher taught me my lesson teacher, my vocal coach taught me when I was in high school, or
Mm-hmm.
what Miss Hardison taught me when I was in elementary and middle school. So I take those tools with me and I apply them. And then I apply them to my music.
Mm. Who are you listening to?
Who am I listening to? My favorite artist of all time is Beyonce. My biggest inspiration is Beyonce by far. I love Beyonce with all of my heart, and everything she does, she is perfect. I love Beyonce. In terms of who I listen to, like day to day, Beyonce definitely number one. I listen to Ariana Grande. I listen to Brent Faiyaz. He's nice. Ari Lennox.
Okay.
Chloe Bailey. Chloe from Chloe and Halle. Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I love everything about it. I can't. I'm blanking. I listen to a lot of people. I listen to a lot of kinds of music, especially to get some inspiration to put in my music. But those are the people like pop R&B kind of sound that is like dominating today. That's the sound that the people in that sound that's what I like to listen to.
Where are you with studying the music? Because we can have our favorites, but often studying music is what gives us our biggest range or our biggest education when it comes to actually studying our craft. So who are those artists that you're studying in terms of listening to them and not listening for entertainment rather, but just listening for their technique and their spacing and their, breathing. Who are those artists that you listen to?
Beyonce. Yeah. I everything. I don't know. She's just great. Like I take a lot of things from her, a lot of inspiration from her. Beyonce definitely my number one. In terms of music and especially entertainment and performance, I take from Michael Jackson, greatest performer of all time. I like to in terms of performing, I'm a performer, and I'm a musician and as a singer first, but I'm a performer. Like, I like the choreography, the visuals, all of that. So I definitely Michael Jackson, definitely Prince too.
Okay.
Prince
That's
is an
two different
inspiration.
extremes, but I like that.
Yeah, I like to like pull from sides and like kind of bring them right here and make something, add my own spin on it and incorporate it into what I do. Definitely the greats that I take inspiration from. I try to take inspiration from the greats. In terms of a lot of my greats are a lot of my I can't find the word, inspirations when it comes to music and performance are a lot of the words like Janet. I love Janet. I love Janet Jackson. Amazing. Her performance skills are out of this world. In terms of my voice though, in terms of technique, I would take a lot of, I feel like Patti LaBelle I love her voice and I study her voice and her ability to keep her voice polished and beautiful and clean from when she started until where she is now. She can still sing her face off. And I really admire that about her. And I take that and I try to apply it to where I stand in my vocal journey.
I appreciate you going back that far, and because I know a lot of singers, that a lot of students that I had when I'm teaching music, they don't want to. They want to stick with a Beyonce, or even people like, even some of them don't even look at Beyonce anymore, or Brandy's and such. They don't want to do the research. They just want to build on their natural ability, and I think that limits a lot of artists and a lot of individuals, because you're not willing to go back and learn the basis of what you're doing, because you're also writing. So that's a different, that adds another layer of work to what you do, because not only do you have to keep your vocals and your body together, but you also have to keep your mind sharp, because you're always looking at ideas. And there was, I think the song that I used to promote the promotion that I sent, I was really impressed, because I was like, he wrote this. Like, I wish I would have known that you were more into the arts, because I could have introduced you to other things outside of what you probably already was doing. But it was, when I see somebody who's really working at it and not just doing what's easy, because it could have been easy for you to put something together like a lot of the younger singers are doing today, and just go off of that. But I would love to see where you are the next 5 to 10 years in terms of writing. When did writing become a part of what you did?
This is a great story. I actually told myself for years on end that I cannot songwrite. And I'm like, I can never be a singer. I can't write my songs. Like, it's not going to work. Until one day, maybe like 2020, I wrote this song called Missing in Action. Missing in Action is my first song I ever released. And I wrote it for months, perfecting it, shaping it. And I was like, wow, wait, I can actually really do this. And writing is really learned. And I just really, really learned. Like, my next song was Sweet Job, and I spent like maybe 2 to 3 months writing that. I spent one night writing it, and then another 2 to 3 months revising it and shaping it and doing what I needed to do to it. And I just like how each time I get better with my writing, and it's really like, it's learned, and it's a skill. It's not something that's, well, at least with me, it's not something that was innate with me. And I learned it, and I'm still learning it. So now I write my own songs. I do have like my best friend, her name is Angelica. Sorry, her name is Angelica, and she just wrote my most recent song I released on April 15th called Square One. We wrote it together. And I do find that having writers helps you a lot. But writing is definitely essential, and it's learned. And
what's the scary part about writing?
Thinking if somebody's gonna like it. I'm writing and I'm like, no, this sounds dumb. I can't do that. Like, just rewind, because like today I'm writing a new song. Well, I wrote the chorus for it. I need to write the verses for it, and it's a drill song, like New York drill. I'm making it really kind of mainstream, like, but I'm still singing. I'm still singing to try to bring a new sound. And
do instruments? Are you inclined with instruments?
I do know how to play some piano. Chords, I know how to read music, so chords. Okay. I'm good with chords. I can read like a lead sheet, or like if you give me chords like A flat major, A minor 7, add 9, or something like that, I can read it and play along with it.
So you were ahead of the game. That's typically the hardest part for people, learning to read, because most musicians don't know how to read music. So they're pulling from just raw ability. So you are able to hear it now better than you would if you didn't know how to read music. Was it tough for you learning how to read music, or did that come natural?
It was tough because I've never been exposed when I went to Baltimore School for the Arts. I was never exposed to having to read and play at the same time, sing and play at the same time, and read and call it back out to you. I can call it back out to you if you sing it to me. I've always had a really good ear, but having to really put the pen on the paper and theoretically and technically threw me for a loop. Funny, I really struggled with music theory my first year, and just about after my second, third, and fourth year, I was fine. It came kind of naturally.
That intro class, normally people crumble in that one. That normally decides, how strong are you going to be in this. But some people can't make it even through the first one.
Right. Music theory, definitely. That first one was very hard. But I went to my second, third, fourth year, and it became easier and easier. Especially, I did not know what perfect pitch was until maybe about 8th grade, and then I found out, oh, hey, I have perfect pitch, so that really helps. If I need to play, if somebody calls out these notes, and I'm like, oh, F, G, A, something, like I can call it out. In music reading and the music theory, like about it really, really, really helps, especially with harmonies. When I gotta be like, okay, let's 4 layers of the root, 4 layers of the third, 4 layers of the fifth, 4 layers of the seventh, clump them together, and let me throw a fourth in there. Why not?
Does that help you when you're writing also?
Yes. If I have a harmony where I have a harmony in my head, I'm like, I do want to record that, but I will forget to record it when I get to the studio. So let's put the notes in here. Like the song I was just writing today, I had a run in my head, but for some reason my voice memos weren't working. So I had to go note to note with my perfect pitch, like F, E flat, D, E flat, D, C, like I had to go note from note and lay it out. And then when I get to the studio, I can just read it and then do the
versus trying to remember all of that in your head.
Right.
I'm telling you, you are much ahead than most of the singers, even older singers I know, because that's
so much.
The part that determines not how necessarily how good you are, but the intensity. Because you could go and just write music for people now. You don't have to sing it. You have different skill sets. I'm always looking at how can I, I used to always be nervous as a young artist, not getting the job that I wanted. So I'm an actor. So not getting the acting job, I learned how to do stage management and costume and set design. But learning how to write music, that's one of my biggest regrets, that I didn't learn sooner how to read music, because that's a skill set that you can monetize across the board. Writing musicals, once you get your
film
writing,
scoring, all of that,
right. Do you see yourself writing a musical or opera at some point?
I definitely would. I'm open to everything music. I mean, my priorities do lie in singing and performing. But songwriting, yes, I'll write songs for other people. I will I'll film score if I need be. I have a good ear for what goes together. I might not be able to put it on the computer, and I haven't learned how to put it on there yet. But if you tell me, like, hey, out of these, which sounds I could put something together, which could also be producing, that people who like, I'll give you myself, for example. I have a song called Emergency, and with the engineer, I sat there and went through the song and picked out what sounds nice with what snare, what drum, and I'll be there all day if need be to pick the right snare and the right drum and bring that in there, and then be like, okay, now double time this. Like, that's producing as well, just because you are making the beat. You're not putting it on the computer, but you're making the beat. So I have a production credit on that song because of what I did with that production on that beat. But production, I do that. I do anything music, really. Yeah.
Are you, so in terms of now that side of it, the business side of being in music, so I heard you say credit. That means writing a split sheet when you're, you got somebody writing for you versus you contributing to the writing. How well versed are you in that aspect of it?
Well, I'm pretty sure there's always more I could learn. I do know about credits. I do know now that I have a writer or writers with me. I know splits. I am a member. I'm affiliated with BMI Broadcast Music.
Okay, sir.
Institute or Incorporated. I forget. But I'm a member of BMI, and I do submit my songs to get my royalties from my songwriting royalties. I give the producer 50 or however on the contract that we sign is how much they want or how much we negotiate. That's how much it'll be. So one of my songs, he has 50, I have 50 because I wrote the song. Or another one of my songs, one of my producers has 50, I have 37.5, and my friend, my best friend, has 12.5 because she wrote a part of the song. So that's
I'm thoroughly impressed. Where did you learn all of this?
When I want to do something, I'm going to put my mind to it, and I'm going to hours and hours of learning. I've only been making music for a year. Coming up, is today the 27th?
Yeah.
Today was the day I released my first song. I didn't even click in my head. Yeah, I've been ever since May 27th when I released my first song. I've been learning the whole,
Well, of last year, you mean?
Right. Sorry, of last year, May 27th. I've been intensely learning everything about the business that I can. I've been talking to people. I've been building connections all up until May 27th. I'm still learning. I have so much more to learn. I haven't even learned half of it.
I am thoroughly impressed because I didn't expect for this to go a different way. Just in talking to your momager.
That's really my momager.
I know she's not going nowhere, but just figuring out, how normally I'm much harder, but I was like, let me just see what he knows. But now I could have planned a much harder interview for you. That you were still learning the process, but I am thoroughly impressed because
Thank you
many
so
people
much.
don't know. They get into it, they're signed, they just want to sign something because they see an advance coming, or they don't even, before they even sign anything, they should know what they're getting themselves into. It's too many horror stories, but I appreciate you knowing so you're not repeating any of those cycles that now huge artists have had to go through in the beginnings of what they are. You are much further than many people in your age range, as well as just the time you've had into it. But people think that it's all about preparing your voice or your writing skills, but if you don't know the business side,
if you don't know the business, I always say business is 90%, music and making is 10%. The business makes you or breaks you, in my opinion.
I'm very proud of you. Like,
thank you so much.
Proud of you. Seeing you now, you're a grown man, and you're a performer, and you are really connected. I would say some of those people that you've met, a lot of those people, the Roslings, the Kenyattas, keep in touch with them and do it genuinely, and I'm sure you know this, but just keep in touch with them, understand what they're doing. Roz, I know Roz because I used to be in her theater group that she had before she got to center stage, and keep in touch with people like that. You never know, how they could benefit you or what you could do, the things that they would have for you to do. But beyond that, any advice that I can give you, just keep those connections. Know who to keep and know who just there for a moment.
Right.
People like that, just keep them, keep connected to them, because you never know how that could benefit you in moving forward. In terms of working with people, who are some of the people you may want to work with locally, or if it's just on your dream board right now, who would you like to, beyond Beyonce?
That's what I was gonna say. I would love locally. I love collaborating. I would love to collaborate with some rappers, especially because I feel like the singer-rapper collaboration can produce something really beautiful. It gives you like the best of both worlds almost. I feel that I would like to work with. I like to work with Chloe one day. I think our voices would complement each other, in my opinion. I'd like to work with Megan. Megan I love her style of music, and I love her personality. I feel like she's a beautiful person to work with. I'd love to work with her one day.
That's some big names.
Mm-hmm.
I would also say to you, go dig deeper than that. Dig a lot deeper than that. Not just what you can reach out and touch or what you see just all on the surface, but dig much deeper than that. Because there are a lot of, and me listening to your music, I heard a lot of like 90s style, and I know that's a popular genre right now, but I heard it not just in the sound, but lyrically, some of the stuff that you were writing about, how you were writing about it, that's stuff that you wouldn't typically listen to. So for me to hear that in your music, I could tell you already have gone beyond what is in your generation. But definitely dig a little bit deeper. Go way back. Listen to some of the people who your mom would listen to or your grandparents would listen to, just for that reference point. Because a lot of your sound and a lot of your music is much older than you, and it does not sound like something that I'm listening to now. Maybe bits and pieces of it, but even lyrically, it doesn't sound like something that's right now, or when I say current, like what's going on right now, how they're doing it right now.
Right,
so
I get it.
You have a good reference point, but just go back even further and go, out and deep with it, and you'll be surprised at what inspiration comes out.
Thank you so much.
In terms of, you're very welcome. In terms of what you want to do outside of the music field, what are you doing in that space?
I always struggle.
Personal business, but just
no. I always struggle with this because, and this is something I definitely have to work on, is actually living life, if that makes sense. Like,
it makes tons of sense.
I will not do something. So I recently wanted to learn another language, right? Which I learned languages pretty fast. So I'm like, oh, this is something I can pick up over the summer. My mind tells me, no, you have music to write. Why are you sitting here trying to write? And learn other languages. Like, you have stuff to do. Don't do that. Do this. And I have grown to learn that I have a life, and I have things that I can enjoy. And I'm still learning what I enjoy, other than singing and music, maybe watching movies, or learning about different random things. I don't really know what I enjoy, and that's a journey that I'm still on the route of. But I definitely do have to, and I am working on knowing what I want and actually enjoying life and actually looking and when I have a win, taking a step, like taking a break and smelling the roses, or taking time to congratulate yourself, because that's something I do not do. If I have a win, it's okay, that's great, let's keep working. And not, keep working, but take a moment to tell yourself you did good. You did something right to get this win. Keep doing it, but give yourself a pat on the shoulder.
And everything is balanced. Everything is balanced. And the mindset you have, don't lose that, because you're going to need that when you hate this career, when you hate this passion, and you're going to need to draw from that when you get tired of it, when it's too much, when you start missing birthday parties and you're missing funerals and you're missing, important things because you're contractually obligated to be somewhere else. So keep that energy and keep that drive for those moments. But often, and I think the thing that happens to certain people, especially if you went the educational or the academic route in learning what you learn, we often become very methodical and very robotic in our passion, and that can sometimes leave us drained. And on the other side of that, what we do is typically fun for other people. So we figure, well, I'm already having fun. I'm performing at this club, or I'm performing at this thing. And that's typically what people do to relax. So we don't typically know what to do to physically relax ourselves. But going to someone else's concert, making time and carving out time, finding other elements of what you do to just do as a hobby, like writing a play or going to be in a play. Like you said, movies. Typically, I'm the person that goes into a movie, and my friends don't like to go with me the first time I see something because I'm looking at the continuity of the scenes, and I'm looking at acting, and I'm looking at, oh, this Tyler Perry movie, that wig was not right there. So
Yes.
you typically don't enjoy what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I've had to force myself to just go and just enjoy stuff.
Right.
Put down the phone. You can't live this or, the balance of it all. You got to know when to do that and when not to do it. Just so you can get some enjoyment out of it. And you don't feel like I'm working because at some point, probably in the next year, you can be like, man, to hell with that. But because you love it so much, you're going to figure out another way to pick it up, or you're going to pick it up eventually, or you could be just doing it in your head and not even realizing it.
Mm-hmm.
But just that balance of work life, play life, and understanding. But your play life can just be you learning different elements. If you're learning different songs, what can you're just adding stuff to your arsenal. Now you can write in different languages, but figuring that out. And then it gives you a whole nother genre of music to then research. So the work becomes more work as you research more, as you learn more, but it all goes together. It all goes together in terms of what you're doing, but just, find that balance. Sometimes you got to just say no. There, for this week, I decided not to come here. I can't come to my studio space. It was my birthday. I'm not gonna, spend my.
That's a funny story. I actually was about to book a studio appointment on my birthday.
And it's okay. It happens. It happens. But if it's not financially beneficial, don't do it. And you're learning right now probably what to do for free, what not to do for free. Some things are beneficial for you that even if they're free, and some things aren't. Just that always seek balance. And it's not perfection, because that's a construct that is just outside of our need. That should be outside of our need, but just finding that balance. How does this benefit me? Will it give me comfort? Will it take me away from my focus? But don't lose the focus, because you're gonna need that soon. Outside of all of that, what are some things that you want to do in addition to writing, or concerts, or a tour? Where are those things in your planning?
I would love to perform. I am the type of person in my career where I want to get as high as I can, like it is skyrocket to the top as I can. And I'm a workaholic, and I will work until I get it. And I would love to perform at, like, a dream of mine has always been to perform at Coachella. I would love to perform at Coachella. I would love to perform at Coachella. I sit here, when I was younger, I would sit there and like really make up performances of songs that I would know, and then make like a set list. It would be completely random people, just songs that I knew, but make a set list and then perform them all the way through. And I like how I did that, because it's almost like manifesting, And I would.
That's called preparing at this point.
Right.
Manifesting is what you're doing if you're just dreaming about doing something. But you're physically in it. So now you're preparing yourself for it.
Right. And just to be able to perform on big stages, the tours, would really be a full circle moment. And sometimes I feel like I do dream too big, but other times I'm like, it's achievable. And I will put in the work for it. So if I put in the work for it, then that's what.
Does it often scare you when you feel like you're dreaming that big?
Yeah, it does, because I'll sit there like, oh, sorry. I'll sit here like, wow. I my dreams are too big, and I must not be doing something right, or my dreams are too big, and I can't. I need to work harder. My dreams are too big, and basically my dreams are too big, and I can't do them. But then I realize, you're working hard. I can.
Right. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. I want to keep you a little bit longer. I don't want to monopolize your time, but
I got all the time in the world.
Something ready. So get them vocal cords ready. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back here on the Artist Exchange Radio Show, only on BigExposedRadio.com. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
He's dead.
Oh,
6 years after he passed away.
It states she reportedly had heard rumors, but nothing substantial. But then you put the rumors to
while
death.
They were still married.
You sentenced the rumors to death.
While they still were married, she heard rumors.
Right.
Okay.
Or probably all her life she's heard rumors. Like you're dating
you're
dating your dad, right? Y'all look just alike. I'm like, girl, somebody told me you dating your father. You know, that's what kind of people. You know he gay, right, Percy?
Please, why are you laughing at him? Don't laugh at him. Please don't.
Okay, let me continue with the story.
Oh,
Welcome back to the Artist Exchange Radio Show here live only on BigExposedRadio.com. I am your host, Nate. So, look at me, making everything saw my messy desk. So if you are looking for some great spaces to be able to promote your work, your music, your art, your business, your products, your services, your upcoming events, definitely hit us up at info@BigExposedRadio.com, or you can send me a message at the Artist Exchange Radio Show at gmail.com, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. We have some great rates, some affordable packages for you to be able to promote and market in your brand. We also, if you go to our website at www.BigExposedRadio.com or BigExposedMedia.com, you'll be able to see our music list. So individuals like our fine guest today can submit their music to info@BigExposedRadio.com, and you'll be able to hear it. You'll be able to go to the website and be able to hear it. If you have any music videos, we also will play clips on our commercial break. So definitely hit us up at info@BigExposedRadio.com. And without further ado, my guest for today. How you doing, sir?
I am great. How are you today?
I am. It's 8 more days left. The school is out, and I'm just slowly transitioning outside of my teacher hat, so I can get my real brain back in focus. But in terms of you, who were some of your inspirations in terms of the people you could touch and feel in this music field? We heard Kenyatta and Roz, but who else were those people who inspired you?
In terms of when I was growing up, she worked with Miss Hardison. She worked with her. Her name is Miss Delisle, Patty Delisle, I believe her name is. She was a pianist, and she gave me some of the most stern and straight up advice ever. And it was so straightforward. And at the time, it really felt like, dang, what did I do? But looking back on it now, it's just like, you really said the right things. And I remember that they echo in the back of my head sometimes, like that was useful advice. She's probably given me some of the best advice I've ever had in my life. And
I'm just really impressed. That's the parenting that I know that you have in front of you, but just natural instinct to listen, and take from it what you need to get from it, and not feel offended when someone's giving you information. Right. Sir, you are not of your generation. I'm going to just tell you that right now. I've seen a lot of students and a lot of teens and 20-somethings, and you're not of your generation.
Thank you so much.
And that's a great thing. And please keep that as you go along, because you're going to meet people that give you advice, you're going to meet people who you don't even realize they have great information for you. And the best thing that I've heard you say is you go out and seek information. That's something that I don't see in a lot of people, in a lot of artists. They are waiting for things, especially student artists.
Right.
We often have a bad habit of, because our, director or the director of the department or whatever gave us opportunities, we were used to that happening. So the transition out of that is typically hard, because sometimes we physically wait for an opportunity to come versus going out there and seeking it or just making it happen. In terms of you building a show and building, I know you said you were practicing writing a set list. Where are you right now? Are you comfortable doing shows, or are you currently doing shows?
I actually have booked 2 gigs this summer already.
Okay.
I love to perform, and unfortunately, before I've been on stage since I was very young. But in terms of performing my own music, right when I started writing my own and releasing my own music, COVID, so a lot of performances were canceled. So I never really got the opportunity. I performed my songs in public before or for an audience, but I haven't really consistently performed my music yet. But I cannot wait. I love to perform. And I feel like, it might be a little nerve-wracking since I haven't done it consistently in a long time. But I need that. I need that nervousness. I need that thing to shake me up, to give me the energy that I need. And I just need to like go out on the stage and shake it off. And then the energy that the audience gives me I give the energy back.
How did you make it work throughout this pandemic? Because like my show used to be physically in a space, but we pivoted to an online platform just to be able to reach more people and be consistent. How did you let this new virtual platform, because now it's not just concerts and venues, but now the virtual world is now a new venue for all artists. How did you pivot in that way, or did you pivot?
I didn't really pivot. I'm a socialite. Like I'm a very sociable and a very extroverted person. So most of my person-to-person contact is fine with me, whether it be in person or virtually. I mean, it gets kind of like, I'm outside now, so it's Corona's, it's not gone, but it's lessened up a little bit, and we know how to handle it better than we did in 2020. So, I'm outside, like interacting with people, but in terms of being in, it's always like going to work. Like working from home is nice, but you miss sometimes it's like leaving the house and like going somewhere. It feels like opportunities. You have things to do. Like you have something new might be discovered today, and you don't have the as many opportunities as you would have if you're working from home or if you have school from home. But I am in college. Actually, I'm on summer break now, but I'm in college at Bowie State University. So I do have the opportunity to, communicate and talk to new people every day and spread not even my music, but me as a brand. That's one thing I do hope to achieve with my music, is not just spread Marcellin's music, is to spread Marcellin and to spread who I am and to spread me as a person with my music. So that person to person everyday interaction is nice. The virtual is nice too. I mean, some days I just hop right on the phone and just, hey, I can hop right on class. I don't have to walk to class. That is a lifesaver. But yeah, I feel like it really didn't affect me. It affected a lot of people. It didn't really affect my mental, or it didn't really affect how I operate.
Were you able to perform virtually?
Yeah, I did have like in my senior year last year, I had senior recitals. I had 3 recitals. I just had to take videos and send them in. I had lessons virtually. It was just, it was the same, really, just virtual.
Do you see that as an option for you?
In terms of like long term
marketing or social media type of thing, using a virtual space to be able to connect and perform or just market yourself?
It is an option. I will never limit myself. So
Okay.
I take it as an option. I do prefer in person. It feels like the connection is way better. But I would never limit myself. I'll do both. Yeah.
That energy from a crowd. I did a lot of readings and plays for the first 2 years, and it gets old pretty quickly. And one of the reasons I did this studio a little over a year ago was because I needed to get out of my home. I was tired of having my bedroom be my makeshift radio studio and my jewelry studio, my kitchen. Like I just needed to get out. I think my apartment wanted me to get out because I was tired of looking at it and it was tired of looking at me. But it has created a different space for us to be able to create where we can just set it up and it can be as built out or as subtle and simple as we want it to be. But I think it's a great space for us to be able to use, in addition to setting up a concert. But I know that I'm a theater actor. So I love that immediate applause or, hearing people and being able to see people move about. That excites me. So I know a performer like yourself needs that as well. But I like the option now to be able to do something more subtle and reach people around the world simultaneously versus who could get there locally. So that was my interesting aspect. And even as you learned the art of touring, it could be a great place for you to meet people before you even get there to crowdsource. Because now I'm starting to do it, but I'm also seeing other people use it as a crowdsourcing marketing tool in terms of meeting people before you take the risk and go across the world to perform or something. How are you sharpening that performance tool? Are you going to be a person that sits at the mic, or are you going to be a dancer, singer?
A dancer. I'm a dancer and I'm a singer. But I'm dance numbers, visuals, choreography. I want it to be a movie. I wanted my shows to be like, wow. I want you to leave feeling like, wow, that was amazing. Like, I'm usually not the person but I'm usually not the person to like be stationary and sit and sing. But I want dance numbers. I want visuals. I want wild. I want like, wow, you are a performer. That's what I want. My biggest inspirations are performers. So that's what
the Janis, the Beyoncés, the Michaels, and those are big shoes to fill. So how are you preparing, like on a choreography side or just the spectacle side where you see the lights and how are you preparing yourself mentally to be able to direct and create a vision to be able to give somebody to make that happen for you?
That's a good question. I'm really not sure right now. Maybe I am preparing and I do not know, but I always try to arrange my songs differently. My song Sweet Jive, which is probably my most successful song to date, probably tied with Square One, but my most successful song to date, one of them is Sweet Jive. And I had just recently heard Rain by SWV, and I played the instrumental, and I'm like, wow, Sweet Jive goes so good with this. So I start singing, Sweet Jive, ride you and I, only us inside. And I'm like, wow, this goes good. So that's another idea. I write it down, and I build. Sometimes I like to build, like, I just be playing around, like just finding stuff until like, oh wait, that's good. Let's make it serious. Let's make it into something, and then put it in my back pocket.
I'm really because I don't hear artists saying stuff like this. They'll sample it without even knowing who a SWV is or not caring who they are, but they don't really take the time to listen. And that's when you're talking about a concert or a live performance, that's the showmanship. And that's why I would only buy a ticket to Janet Jackson. If she does a concert, I've gone to every concert she's ever had.
Wow.
And that is my, in terms of her being on tour, And that's because you know you're going to get spectacle.
Right.
She's getting older, so she's not hitting the moves like she used to, but you still will get performance. You know, I've never bought a ticket to Beyonce, but I've gone to a couple of the concerts because I'm thinking it's a little too much for me. I have to invest a little bit more in me right now. But you know you're going to get a show with Beyonce. You know it's not going to be boring. You know, and there's very few artists that you know will give you that full range of a show, and it's a story that's unfolding, or you see like a mini movie happening right before your eyes. And it's a lot of vision that goes into that. I watch a lot of concerts, so if you don't do that, I think that's something.
Yes, I watch a lot of
concerts. And you some of them is a little, so it's a little distorted sometimes. It's not really clear, but you can get vision from that. You still get, you know, vision and point of view. It becomes it will force you to be a artist outside of what you know to be an artist. So a visual artist, it will force you to tap into other people's artistry in order to create that vision, colors, and you know, clothing, and all those things will then become a part of your job to know. Or even when you're hiring somebody, you know what to, you know, the language to talk to them in. Are you excited about this next element in terms of getting out and doing more shows?
I'm so excited. I can't wait to see what's coming. I can't wait. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I just want to just rush into it without really like pacing myself. But I'm so excited. I can't wait. Like I want it now.
My advice: document everything.
Yeah.
As artists, sometimes we forget, or we so focus on the documenting that we don't do the art part well. But just that balance again. But just document the process and let people see it. It's more content, but it's also a new way of connecting with people. People now like to see the process.
The process behind the scenes,
great, but they want to see the process because that shows us your growth, and that helps people to invest in who you are a lot more because they see where you started from and where you're going. So for me, knowing you and Morgan running around at like family stuff, or to seeing you now, this is like crazy that I did not know that you were a performer. So I can't wait to follow your work more and meet with you and just come to your concerts and such.
Thank you so much.
What shows do you have? Can you talk about the stuff that you have planned this summer?
Well, a friend of mine who is also a singer, and I have been to elementary, middle, and high school with her, and I've worked with her just about for the past 5 summers, maybe 4, but she's planning a concert. She asked me to perform. So I had, immediately when she asked me that, I have a meeting and maybe in a week or 2, I think June 11th, to discuss. Immediately when I heard that, boom, I started playing. And that's when I discovered, oh yeah, Sweet Jive goes with Rain. I'm immediately building a set list. I'm immediately like, okay, now I have to write a ballad to show I can sing. I have to write a ballad. I have to modernize it and then make it and incorporate other things into it. I have to find things to wear, and I'm not wearing a t-shirt and jeans and sneakers. And I'm not wearing that to perform. I'm gonna get something custom made. I want an outfit. I want a performance outfit. I want something that stands out. I want something that's professional and that's you performing, not and you dancing, not something you just go up there and yeah, no.
I mean, where did this type of thought, this type of reaction, was it always a part of your creativity, or has it become a part of it in terms of now, okay, I'm really doing this now. I've invested my money and my time and my art into this. When did that transition happen where you saw yourself as a business versus I'm on a choir, I'm a little singer, I sing a little bit here and there.
Right. I've always took singing seriously. I've always been a singer. My mom made sure I was in that choir. Miss Hardison made sure I sang the right notes. Yeah, to say the least, she made sure, and she wasn't playing. And in terms of when I made the executive decision to be a business and a brand, I probably somewhere making Sweet Drive.
Okay.
So maybe like I really Sweet Drive in August. So maybe June of 2021, I was like, I'm not playing. I'm doing this, and this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to work towards it. And ever since then, it's just been up, with my knowledge and gaining opportunities. And thank you so much, because this is my first live interview ever. Like,
oh wow,
I love this. I love the opportunity. Thank you so much.
I saw the blog interview, but once your mom posted about you, one, it shocked me because I was like, okay, he's a performer, okay. But I always like to give people opportunity in a space. This is what this platform is for. The Artist Exchange is for the one-on-one and the collaboration and just the spotlighting of people that are serious about it. You know, even up and coming, if it's a serious idea at this point, you know, I like to give people that space to be able to promote it and market it, because I know it's hard coming up for somebody to reach out to you to do those things. But especially when you're putting in the work and you're so focused on doing the work, you forget about these types of things. You got to talk about it. You got to get people interested, because somebody got to listen. Somebody got to buy that ticket or buy that download or that music. So we sometimes forget that, oh, I got to lift my head up from this art and sell it to people or share my story with people. And it's really about your story, connecting your story. So I would say start thinking about that narrative of why you do this, where you came from with it, who were the key individuals involved in that, and where you want to go with it. So creating that narrative, that mission, that brand story about why you do this. That's going to be the thing that keeps people with you and really attracts people to you. You said you were at Bowie. What are you majoring in?
I major in communications with a can't think of the word, concentration in public relations. So that fits into a lot of what I do. Public relations, making sure you keep your brand tight, making sure you're media trained, because that's what a lot of artists today do not do, is they're not media trained like people back in the day. They're not media trained. Their publicist doesn't teach them things. And a lot of these things, like some of my classes fit right in the entertainment industry. So learning a lot of these things is very helpful, because I will be media trained. I'm already a very, 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 very private person, but to keep it very, very tight and very like forward and to know how to interact with people, to know how to interact with masses of people is a skill that is very, very, very important. So,
it is very important now that artists know their narrative and they have control of their narrative.
Right.
We see a lot of the older artists that are now out on these platforms like we are, and they're awkward at it, you know, and some of them are really good at it, but they've been told, stay back, let us do this. And the way that the world is now, where most artists are independent artists now or choosing to be independent, you have to still know how to control your narrative. And it's not about being fake. So being media trained is being naturally you. It's nothing that you need to put on. You can take away as much of the information as you don't want to share, but it's about sharing your story. So, you know, think about those elements that make you unique and those elements that connect you with other people. And that's the part of the media training that many people overlook. Being naturally you. It's not creating this persona. It's not creating this narrative to make people see what you want them to see, but it's really just sharing your story. Some of the most, the medium ability people, I'll say it that way, they have the best story. And you're like, how are they getting people? They're not even that good. But they've mastered the art of being themselves. And people fell in love with that personality. And they're willing to, you know, listen to a couple bad notes or a couple bad songs because they have fallen in love with the person.
The
Now, can
person,
they keep that person long term? Probably not. But being yourself naturally will help people to be attracted to you in terms of you being a brand, a business, a sound. So just being naturally who you are. And I'm seeing that come through, but just be that person. And don't, as you grow and as you become more successful, you'll look different. You'll sound different.
Right.
You'll experience different things. But remember your brand story, your why, and that'll keep you connected and grounded in a way that sometimes money can make us a little lofty thinking and detached from people. But now people who have been celebrities their whole life are forced to now be one-on-one and just be in a camera and talking to people. And then you can see how uncomfortable some of them were. They didn't know how to dress. They didn't know how to do their makeup. They didn't know how to do anything. And the artists that were on the local level, we knew how to just pivot and get that moving.
Right.
So just being yourself, I think, is the most and the biggest lesson that I've learned as an artist. Creating the persona will only eventually you'll have to break down those things because you'll outgrow that shell that you created for yourself. And that's the
right.
I would rather you fall in love or not like me for being me versus you falling in love with an image that I put out there. So when I peek out, you like, well, who is this person? I don't know that person. We don't like that person. We want that thing that you were doing bad. So now, that is what media training, I think, for me is. But in terms of moving to the next level, what does that look like for you?
What does that look like for me? In terms of moving to the next level, better songwriting, more of a catalog. I want more songs. I want more collaboration. I want more opportunities. More opportunities. That's probably the biggest one. More opportunities, and that's probably what the next level looks like for me. More opportunities, more exposure, more work, and not meaning working like bad, like more work, like more things to do. Yeah.
Be careful what you ask for, sir. I'm tough.
I don't want like something I can't handle, but I really do thrive off of productivity. Productivity is my biggest I can't think of the word right now, but productivity really gives me my biggest validator. That's the word. Productivity is my biggest validator by far. If I'm productive, that tiredness will make me happy. It's like going to the gym and coming home and your body aches. It's just like that ache feels good because something's working because I did that today.
Yeah, you young. I can hear it. Because at some point when you sleepy, you be like, fuck all that. I'm about to go lay down somewhere. But know when to take a break. Know when to say no.
Right.
Learn when to say yes. And understand that what your why is. And your why may grow, it may change, it may shift, but it should always be along the same lines of your beginnings. And don't let anybody force you into a space or create you or tell you who you are. And you go along. Don't do that. And as long as I know your mom is around you, I know she's not gonna let that happen. But for you, understand who you are and be strong in that messaging and whatever that may look like for you in terms of you building that image of yourself. But stay true to you. It's too many people trying to fit into a character or a box, and that's not who they are. Like you can't maintain that. That's a lot to carry throughout a career. And then at some point you get tired, so you break all that apart, and nobody likes that person. And that's not your problem. That's their problem. But you have to show up as yourself, and you can't get mad if people fall in love with an image versus the real thing. So I'm gonna let you think about what you want to sing, how you will take us out today. But I also want to ask you, my final question is, what advice, and I know you right there, but what advice would you give to your 17-year-old self? And what question would you ask to your 100-year-old self?
My Advice I would give to my 17-year-old self would be, don't take your intuition for granted. What your gut feeling is right. No, follow it. Follow it and keep it. Do not forget it. And keep that intuition. Keep your powerful intuition. Don't second guess yourself. Keep your powerful intuition and take it wherever you go, because it'll help you in a lot of situations.
Okay.
My advice to my question to my 100-year-old self would be, were you satisfied with your life? Do you think you had a good life? Is there anything you missed? Did you like it? If you had the chance to do it again, would you?
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you the secret to this. Your advice and your question tells you, it should tell you a lot about where you are right now. That advice tells me where you are mentally, and that question tells me where you are physically.
Okay.
You're making sure you're putting each piece down so it means something. You're making sure you're putting it in the right place. You're trying to base things off of gut instinct, but you're purposely putting this block here, and you're trying to pave that way as you go. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you ask yourself this same question 2 months from now, it may be different.
Right.
Based off of where you are right now. So use it as a writing prompt, meditation prompt, or just if you feel stuck at some point, ask yourself those what advice, what question, and don't plan it. Don't be so predictable with it. Just randomly ask yourself that, and it tells you a lot about where you are in that moment.
I will never forget that.
So that's the piece of advice that I try to live with myself, and I try to give that to all my guests and anybody I come across, because it really gives you placement, current placement. And no matter how close you get to either of those ages, it still will matter in the moment. It's going to tell you where the moment is. But I've asked this gentleman to sing us a song, and I want you to just give him a taste. Just give him a taste, because they're going to have to come see you perform, or they're going to have to download that song. But don't give them too much, but just enough to hook them in.
I got a song called Sweet Drive that I made last year, and I'll sing it for you. So it starts off with the chorus. It goes, sweet drive, in the ride, you and I, only us inside. I'll lead the way, okay? We drive late night into the day. This ride don't need much controlling, 'cause when we start and the ride gets rolling, sweet drive, I got cavities 'cause the late drive's so sweet.
Okay, just a little bit. Tell us where we can find your music, where we can contact you on social media.
You can find my music on all platforms: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever you think of, it's on there. On at Marcellin. That is my Marcellin. That is my name on all platforms. That song I just sang is called Sweet Drive. If you like 90s music, if you like a feel-good vibe, it's R&B, I do recommend that song. That is probably my most feel-good, happy R&B song. In terms of socials, my @name is @TheMarcellin @TheMarcellin on all platforms. Social media platforms.
Information is your IG specifically was at the bottom of the screen. So follow him. We'll definitely tag him in this, share this, like this, support this brother. Would you like to close out? What message would you like to close out in terms of people knowing who you are, connecting who you are, what your music means, all that?
I want people who listen to my music to laugh at my music, to cry at my music, to smile at my music. I want you to experience life through my music. All be versatile. That's why I make my music so versatile, so it's applicable to every life situation that you go through. I want the breakup songs. You need a breakup song? Go listen to my song. You feeling really good? You want to speed on the highway? Go listen to my song. I want to guide you through life. I want to be with you. So if anything, when you listen to my music, please take me with you.
That's awesome. I appreciate you for joining us today. And much success, much love to you. And if it's anything I can help you with, don't hesitate to reach out. We definitely have to meet and see how we could support each other in terms of you growing and networking and just being you. So let me know what those things are that you may need help with. And if I can't do it, I definitely know somebody who can support you in it. So
thank you so much.
Much blessings to you. I'll definitely be sharing out. Send us some music. I'm going to send you the email address where we can put some of your music up online. And once you get to a music video, just send that clip as well and we can rock it out for you.
Once I get this refund check, the first thing I'm making is a music video.
that rebate be hitting on something.
Yes, it do.
So much love to you, sir. Just keep it going and just stay positive and just work hard. Get the work in now so you can benefit later.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you so
sir.
much.
Peace out.
Bye.
So that has been the Artist Exchange Radio Show. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Don't forget every Friday, unless, I need a break or Monty needs a break, we'll be here. I just want to close out with just a little bit of information on, well, not information, but just a little, I saw the link that you shared, Monty, on the shooting in terms of the image you just posted, in terms of us having to do all this thing just to be a licensed driver or own a car, but none of those requirements are there to own a firearm. And that can do way much more harm to a person. Not to say, well, I think it's the same amount of harm. A car can kill you, a gun can kill you in the wrong hands or inappropriate hands. But I, as an educator, it's always been my concern, whether it be a dispute with a teacher or another teacher with a parent or the community that the schools are in. But someone said something interesting the other day. These things don't typically happen in the urban settings. They're happening in spaces that you would not think they should happen in. And that's not to say that, crime doesn't happen across the board, but it saddens me at individuals who have been given a job to do, to be at the helm of this decision making and creating legislation. It should tell you, and I've been in a lot of arguments as we close out, a lot of arguments with individuals who want to
continue.
Oh yeah, no.
The rudeness.
But it saddens me how people automatically go to what has voting done for us. Soon as something like this happens, and we don't get our way, we don't get the legislation passed, we don't get the justice that we seek, and we automatically attack the voting process. Voting is not a breathing thing. So man creates the struggles and the hurdles and the obstacles that go into making the results of voting what they are. We vote in the people who then become in charge of the voting process.
But there lies the problem. There lies the problem. Because we're not voting on the most important issues. We talk about voting on people, putting people in office that are supposed to do the work that we should be doing ourselves.
Yeah.
And if we put on the ballot specifically what we want, then there's no question to be on or no delays on what should be done. If guns was on the ballot, then we can make this decisive decision at that time and not have to wait for somebody to be in office to convince 600 other people to do the right thing. Put it on the ballot.
I mean, it shouldn't even be a ballot issue at this point. The same way they snuck in this legislation for abortions, why can't the same thing be done for gun control? Or
it shouldn't be a snuck-in thing. We should be demanding that we put this on the ballot for us to make the deciding factor, because it's already obvious that we can't count on the representatives that we elect to put in their chairs in Congress to make this decision for us. We can't depend on them to do this because they have their own agendas. Yeah. But if you put it on the ballot and let us vote against it or for it or whatever the case may be, then we can make decisions without having to wait all of these years and all of these daggone catastrophes keep happening.
And this is
I remember a time where we used to put stuff, they used to put additional stuff on the ballots for us to make referendums.
Yeah.
That don't happen anymore. Marijuana was on the ballot, what was that, like 10 years ago? And we all said legalize it, and nothing has happened since, besides medical marijuana being legalized. Now it's finally come full circle for them to talk about, making it for recreational use now. But this is now a fight that's been going on for 2 decades.
And there's a process to it. I get that. It shouldn't have taken 20 years for that, but it should not have taken as long as it has taken for, a civil rights bill to be passed for Black people. It should not have taken this long. Like, how many more schools will it take? How many more crazed gunmen will we have to see before we do better? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm nervous at having the wrong parent come into the school. Mm-hmm. But now I'm in a space right now where, I'm looking at the security in my building, making sure, asking, do these cameras work? Or, what's the process for, and questions that I never thought of asking before. But these things seem so random and so out of pocket. Now, what's the likelihood of it happening in a certain area?
There is no likelihood.
I don't know.
There's nothing going to happen. Nothing's going to happen, especially because midterms is coming. So no one's going to jeopardize their chances of being either re-elected or electing someone new by talking about guns. They're going to use it as their campaign slogans, yes. But when they get in office or when they get renewed, it's going to fall on the bottom line again because they got other things.
We need to hold them to the fire. What is your plan? I don't want to hear great advice.
I suggest the plan B is that we start being allowed to add other items to the ballots.
Yeah.
Let the people speak for themselves. If they don't want guns, let them say it. If 78% of the people in this country don't want guns, then they go.
I don't understand how the NRA has so much power and authority. I know
because they run the campaigns. They give them the money for their campaigns. Mm. They have lobbyists that actually influences a whole bunch of these elections.
I was watching a View the other day, and Joy Behar brought up this very topic, how disgusting it is that it takes so much money for a candidate to rise to the top of all the people that are running for a specific seat or office or whatever. And I really think they need to go to a situation where they get a certain amount of money, maybe like $5,000 if it's local, maybe $20,000 if it's national, to be able to campaign. And I know it's going to take more than that, but I think they should not be allowed to be able to take any money beyond that set budget. And all of them have the same. And I think if it goes to that point, you're going to see a lot more cheating and a lot more devious things happening, but you'll know it's happening because you couldn't afford all these campaigns. And I think it should be across the board. If it's a national election versus if it's local, it should be a set amount of money that they have to be able to, buy ads or buy banners. I'm tired of all these banners and buttons or these little leaflets that come in the mail. I'm tired of seeing that. That's money down the drain to me. And it's
just mind-boggling to me that
right.
all of these missed opportunities on polling your citizens on what exactly they want have gone by. Every 2 years there's an election, and there's also the actual possibility of polling every single registered voter.
Well,
and we lose it every single time because they poll people on the news all the time. They do it all the time. But you can't always trust the accuracy. But you can trust the accuracy of your registered voters because we have to.
Right.
We have to trust the accuracy of a registered voter because that's the only poll that's actually audited 4 different times before it's certified.
Yeah.
Now, this is the opportunity that we always take advantage of and miss because we're always talking about who we're going to put in office. But if you're taking the opportunity to put these questions on the ballot, we can have definitive results to move forward with this country because we're not getting anywhere with this rhetoric. And it's very disappointing.
It's an issue for me that comes home because I'm in a building and realizing that they've lost this many people this time. Not to say that Sandy Hook or any of the other ones were any less painful, but I can only imagine someone coming into the classroom and me having to, in a moment, put myself in front of my students and how much of a decision that will not have to be for me. It would naturally me want to protect them, but can you imagine having to be in a classroom like that?
But how long, if this keeps happening, how long can that last before you start to be like, oh, hell no, and jump out the window first?
Well, it's happening already. People are leaving before it even becomes.
That's what I'm saying. Right, exactly. They're quitting the whole entire profession.
And I keep seeing these commercials or these infomercials where the teacher has a gun or do you know how fast a fight can break out in a class before you could jump in it? So a person comes into your room, what time do I have to go get a gun? Hello?
I'm here.
The sound went out. Oh shit. But yeah, I don't understand. I don't want, in my real life, I don't like having a gun. But because I live alone, because I leave my studio late at night at times, I have to be able to protect myself. But I don't want to be in a classroom thinking about something like that. And it's such a simple fix, and it is really just the assault weapons that we have to remove the easy access from.
And not only that, I mean, it could be the most sane person, but I believe all of us are a few ticks and a boom before going off. All of us. Because we're in an environment that we live in an environment that we can't escape from, and that we're always influenced by everything that's around us. So we are tick, tick, boom away from being, all of us being somebody holding a gun. Yeah, I don't want that to be a possibility for me. I would never be a gun owner because I would never have that be the possibility for me because I know my temper, but I know I'm sane right now. I know I'm sane right now. I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring.
But if you've ever, I know I've been put in that situation. I've been held up in gunpoint in front of my home before. I've been held up walking to the corner store before. I've been held up 3 times in my life. So the necessity was I need to be able to protect myself.
I was held up one time and that person regretted it. But that can't be the outcome all the time. Like he got his ass beat that day. And I took his gun from him. But that was my training.
Yeah, but that situation had to be in a specific space for you.
But it could have went totally different. That's what I mean. It could have been totally different.
Right.
I could have not been here today.
Right. And I all 3 times that I've been put in that situation, I was caught off guard. it's one of the reasons why I don't use my phone when I'm walking or I'm out in the streets. I don't use my phone often. So people get mad at me because they drove past me and called me, and I didn't even look at the phone.
Mhm.
But it's a reason I don't, because I've been stuck up 3 times while I was on the phone, and I was caught off guard. But I don't understand how trivial, why this becomes such a trivial thing, and why people feel so entitled to these types of weapons that are killing people.
I just don't
And it's
understand that. I mean,
always
because
the same type of weapon.
I'm
It's
sure you've
always.
been in altercations with people
Uh-huh.
where their anger has gotten the best of them,
Yes.
where they have
Mhm.
done something to you, or vice versa. I mean, both. Anger is anger; it goes in both directions. Where
Yep.
your anger can get the best of you, and putting a gun in that situation is not
Yeah.
helpful. So, say for
It's not.
instance, let me give you an example. You have a cookout. You got your gun upstairs. Something goes down. Fight breaks out. They fighting fist to fist. But why you had to go upstairs to get your gun? Because something was getting broken in your house.
Right.
But you went
Right.
upstairs to get your gun because you were going to end it. Right?
Yep.
One way or the other, you were going to end this fight. Whether you had to use the gun or not. But if the gun wasn't in the situation, it still would have been a fight and everybody would have lived.
Yeah.
That's the only
It doesn't
example
require. I mean, I'm
you
just
gotta
trying to
trust that your
understand.
anger takes over everything.
Yeah.
Your mind, the processes, and adding a gun to that situation is not necessary, because if you didn't have the gun, everybody still would have went home safe. Maybe been bloody noses or whatever the case may be, but they would be alive. Don't
Whoopi
want to add
Goldberg.
guns to the
Whoopi
situation.
brought up. She brought up a great point. She said, "Start going after the families. Start suing the families. Start
of
suing
the
of
perpetrators.
the perpetrators. Start suing the families. Start suing the person who gun it belonged to. Start suing the person who sold that person a gun. Because apparently you didn't keep it safe as you should have, even being a registered gun owner, that you allowed a child to use this, or you allowed this adult to be able to get a gun." The post that she put up there, it really, I've been in that conversation all week since this has happened, where people don't, I have to go through hell to just be able to drive a car, but all I got to do is show an ID to get a gun. Like, that makes no sense for me. And for many years, my gun wasn't registered.
And it was interesting because I had never saw. When this happened, I had no emotions. Only it took me seeing the guy who came up to the school and had to find out that his daughter was dead because the little girl said her best friend is dead, but he didn't know the little girl.
Yeah.
She became she found her best friend in school, and that didn't translate to the parents. So he didn't know exactly who she was talking about until he asked her, "Who's your best friend?" And
They said
she
some of the
says
children were
his daughter's name.
unrecognizable.
And that's when I broke down. But otherwise, this was like, I mean, it's happened so much. It was like blank to me.
But
I
see,
kept trying to turn the channel.
yeah. But see, for me, it's like the first time every time for me, because we have to go through a string of.
Well, you're directly involved in this because you are
That's
a teacher.
why, so we get all the notices. As soon as it happens, we get all the notices. Our emails are flooded, our texts. We get information over the speakerphone about safety precautions. So we get a little bit more, of the levels of security being breached. And we're already in a very toxic environment with all these different learning styles and behavioral issues. To topple that off, that's why parents have less access to the building, or guests of the building have less access than you used to be able to go to the school and check in at the office and go up to your child's classroom. You can't do that anymore. In many school systems, you're not allowed to do that, because we've had parents come in there and fighting each other. This baby mama and this baby mama got both of their children in the same grade, and they found out fighting, guns, like There are actual procedures that we have to learn when they yell out certain codes. And I'm like, I'm in a school building. Why the hell do I need to know, yes, a hurricane or, a tornado. Yes, fire drills, yes. But why am I having to do all these de-escalation codes in order to, I just don't understand how these people can justify it. I don't understand it at all. And maybe because, and the crazy thing is, some of them, this is your environment that this keep happening in. These upper middle class neighborhoods, that's where it keeps happening. It keeps happening in those environments. So something should tell you something you're doing is wrong. And you holding on to an NRA rifle certificate or your right to bear, like, it's dumb. It is the dumbest thing. And it's always an assault weapon. It's always an assault weapon. Right. They don't get a handgun and go into the school where they could be stopped. They have these army level, war level guns that they're using. And they say in this case, there were students that were unrecognizable. So they couldn't even tell who the child was. Like, that means you really shot people up. They killed a couple teachers and a bunch of students. Like, I don't get how anybody, whether you have a child or not, can't feel something for this. And it's scary for me being in the school system. Like, you don't know if somebody's going, like you said, somebody's going to click one day and want to run up into a school. A teacher may say something wrong to a child and, or in this case, this is a teenager going into an elementary school. Why the hell are you there? Like, why this school? Why, not to say he should have went into a high school or something, but why are you going into an elementary school? And to understand a lot of this stuff is racially provoked, it's sickening to me. Like, I don't know how to adjust or figure out how to feel, but how in the hell do you even just wrap your mind around? Whoopi said it, but she said, stop going after the families. Who got them that gun? Who sold them that gun? And if you start attacking people's pockets, even if you don't win, they're going to have to spend some money. It's going to start being a little bit more of a need to wait and test somebody's mental capacity or, check records, or it's going to take more. You're going to second guess before you sell just anybody a gun. I'm not opposed to you looking at people's social media or their social affiliations. I don't care. Tap into my rights, because in situations like this, there's no reason why we have yet another school shooting. Like, how far wasn't it? Like a week between the two? What happened in the market and what happened at the school? It was less than a week, right?
Yeah, it was like a week. It was like a week, a complete week.
It's crazy. I've always been on nerve in public places, because I've seen fights break out.
But here's something that's really, really. I don't even know how to explain this, because I actually, after this happened, I started looking into the different places in the world that has and their policies on guns. England, very strict policies. New Zealand, very, very strict policies. It's like you can't even have one. Australia, same thing. Very, very strict policies. It's almost like you can't even have one. South Korea, they're outlawed. The police don't have guns, nor can the citizens. So we are actually the only country that's like, we still live in the Wild Wild West.
That's sad.
And it doesn't make sense
in any other country in the world but ours.
It doesn't happen anywhere else. And I don't understand why you can't corroborate that. You can see the problem is that you have guns, period. Having a gun does not make peace.
Or even if you're having it for recreational purposes, like it's irresponsible.
But you don't need them for recreational purposes. You can use a paintball gun if you're trying to shoot something for recreational purposes. An actual gun to kill something is not necessary, and it's definitely not necessary to feed your dumb ass.
Right. Like the excuse is I like to hunt and I have the right to hunt.
No, hunting should be outlawed, period. Let's get that going. For what?
I can't. I'm really, and we keep being at this moment where people are outraged and people are, one of the teachers, like she just couldn't, she couldn't take it. Like, and she just bust out into tears when we were having our meeting. And rightfully so, because I mean, the likelihood of it happening in an urban environment is not as high as it has been in some of these suburban neighborhoods. But nevertheless, it could happen because every time one of these things happen, it happens
hunt with a bow and arrow than a gun.
And I hear people that look like me who just
put some effort in it. Then, if you're trying to be a hunter, put some effort in it. Use a bow and arrow. Use a crossbow. Use something else than a gun.
I've never been a fan of hunting. I've never been a fan. I've gone on one trip where they went, and I just couldn't even bring myself to doing it. Like, I'm not going. I'll stay right here in this hut because I'm not going. Because it just didn't make sense to me. Like, we're going to go hunt an animal. Like, what are you going to do with the animal after you hunt it? Like, I'm not eating that shit. I'm going to go to the market and eat. I'm not.
But even if you wanted to use a gun, it don't have to be bullets. You can use a trank. If you like, you hunting for a deer, trank it, but let it fall asleep and then you kill it.
But even Sunny Hostin said something. She said, but hers was a little far-fetched. Hers was, they need to create smart guns. Like if you lose your phone, you can shut the phone down and prevent anybody from using it. Why can't they use that?
If you lose it, then that's a possibility of somebody picking it up and killing somebody with your gun.
Yeah, but if it's
what a
a
waste.
Smart gun,
why is this still an industry?
You can
if you're not in the military, why is this still an industry if you're not in the military or the police? I mean, if you're trying to keep the peace,
right,
and all of this kind of things that you want to do, stop giving people the tools to break the peace.
Yeah.
Human nature is to destroy. We're doing it constantly to the planet. Why keep giving them the tools to do it? Some people are bad inherently.
Yeah. I'm trying to wrap my mind around how are we at a space in our country, and corruption is everywhere. So I'm not trying to make America seem like
right. That's bad.
But
people are bad inherently.
Yeah, right. That's what you
come
said.
with it all.
Like, how do you justify taking money from organizations that keep the things that are happening, like something like this?
Mm-hmm.
And I was reading that the NRA is having a convention
now in Texas,
less than 30 miles away from where this happened. Now,
so insensitive.
Like, how do you still justify that level of ignorance? Like, I don't understand why the parents of that school don't burn that fucking convention down. That's where I'd be willing to do a couple decades in jail, because I would go and I would blow it up. I really would. Like, I couldn't imagine being one of those parents who had to go to the drive-up and realize your child is not coming out that building. Or your parent isn't coming out of it, because it was adults killed as well. Like, how do you justify that? Like, that just got me. I can't stand watching these Republicans. And I'm even at this point, I'm tired of these Democrats. I'm tired of them playing soft. I'm tired of them playing safe. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the fake anger from Biden. I'm just tired of it. You're trying to play nice. These people are not playing nice. They are about to roll back one of the most monumental outside of the civil rights bills in our country. They refuse to even listen to any type of legislation that will prevent people from owning assault weapons. And it's specifically assault weapons. The fact that people have to get a background check, they are against people being able, they want you to be able to walk into a Walmart in the middle of this country and be able to pick up an assault rifle. Just because. Oh, that's a nice color. I like that wood grain on that one.
I like it's pink.
It's pink. It's so cute. Like
a gun being cute. A gun being cute. That's the emphasis on that.
Yeah. That's gonna go great with my collection. For what? What are you preparing for?
Don't this match my boots?
Right. And I love the feeling of shooting a gun. It hurts for me, but I love that feeling of it. But I don't want to use it. Like there's nothing appealing beyond that to me. But that's nothing short of just going to a firing range and just playing. I don't even like I've been to an outdoor one. I don't even like the out because I don't want to accidentally hit someone. That's not a good feeling that you could kill someone. This is, I don't understand how these people keep getting elected. Like who?
That's what I'm saying. It's not even about the elections no more. Certain things should be put on the ballot for us, the people, to vote on. It's not a thing about whether these representatives want this, these representatives want it or not. This is now should become a majority rules type situation where it's out of hand because y'all won't make no decisions. Because that's what it should be. If you can't make this decision. If you can't get this bill crossed and put on the ballot and voted on, then we, the people, in the next election should make the decision for you because we can't wait no more. Same thing like abortion. This same thing should happen with abortion. It's so important that we get this stuff done that it should not be up to legislation for Congress and the House and the Senate to actually have to take these things under their wing because it's not getting done. Nothing.
But the people who have the authority to make that happen or create that legislation, they're not doing anything. They're trying to be bipartisan. They're trying to not. They're not
it's
trying
actually
to go
not
low.
A bipartisan thing for us locally in your state to put things on our ballots.
Right.
Because like I'm saying, we know that like 78% of the people support abortion, 78% of people support background checks and all that kind of stuff for gun reform. It's not getting across to the representatives. But you can't, it's undeniable if your own city, your own state puts it on a ballot and you vote for it. You can't actually ignore that. Now it's a part of the election record.
Right.
But I think and I'm going to do some research for you for next week's show, or what it takes to put something on the ballot.
I'll call, I'm going to see if I can, I ain't going to say his name out loud, because then he will be fake about it. But I'm gonna call a couple people and see if they could come, because that's, for me, that's where I'm at right now. Because outside of even this being a problem, just the school system at large, just the way things are happening, where you can just arbitrarily close a school or remove resources from a school. Like, what is it? Like, I've always tried to just do what I'm supposed to do and go into the school and teach or be an art. But at this point, I'm realizing I'm working backwards, because the problem is not within the problem. You see it, the result of the problem is in the school system, but it's really in those people that's sitting in their suit and ties and eating their, lunches that's being paid for by my tax dollars, just to sit up and make a rule. This Sandalise, this CEO of the school board, she was sending out these bullshit ass messages all week long talking about this. And I'm saying, but you have a school system right here that is, you keep taking money from it and putting it in your damn payroll. You know, even for me, I'm a substitute this year. I don't get paid enough to deal with the shit that I have to deal with. But you write these pretty little messages that your secretary probably wrote. And it's not a concern because your child is in their bubble. And they go to a nice charter school where they don't have to deal with this. Or I think her daughter's in a charter school, but I don't know what to do at this point. So I think that's my only. I don't want to work in the building anymore. I want to do legislation because I don't understand how, like on this side, how do we keep doing that? How do we? And if some of these schools that are in suburban areas that this is happening, they have nice facilities. They have, I think the one with the school, the problem is how did he breach security? Like, how was he able to get into the building? Did he know somebody? How did he get in? I know most of the buildings, they have now the camera systems where they look at you and they buzz you in, but did he break in a door? Was a door left open? Did he know a child there and that's how he was able to get in? Like, how does these things keep happening where this person could just get into a building and just start shooting? You don't see that fucking gun? Like, where was the gun hidden at that you didn't see it? But I don't know. I don't know how to feel rightly about it. And I try to not look at the news, but at the same time, I just need to be informed. I really need to be. It was a parent who was standing in the building, and typically they don't stand in the building. And I just felt very uncomfortable about this man being here. And I felt bad about it because it was another Black man, but I didn't know him. I had never seen him. And I was like, well, we have to go up to the office if you're looking for your child. And he got an attitude because I think he understood what I was doing. But I had to say, sir, I don't know you. So you're just a person standing. And it was just the middle of this week. He was just standing in the lobby. And I was like, are you looking for a child? It's after school. Like, you have to go to the office if you're trying to pull them from an after school program or, did they not come out? And he was like, no, I'm good. No, sir, we're going to the office. Mm-hmm. Because I can't have you, I don't feel, and I'm walking out the door. And I'm saying I don't feel comfortable with leaving you standing right here, just waiting. Like, let's go to the office. Let's be proactive about this. Because if he was just somebody who snuck in from the street, I would have been devastated if I heard on the news this man with his picture, and I know I just walked past him. So I mean, how many people walk past him? How many people walk past the guy who shot up the market? But I don't know. I don't even care about the racial aspect of it, but because it just keep happening. And I just see children dying or being killed rather, versus, you creating legislation that could have prevented that person from getting it or would have forced the person who may have owned that extra gun, if it was a parent, for not having it. What are we doing? And I remember them doing tests before with some of these assault weapons. They can't even hunt with that gun. They would tear the animal apart. So you can't use it for food. You can't use it for its skin. Like, what would you be using an assault rifle that can shoot that many rounds off at one time? Like, what would you be using it for? Other than to just go kill a bunch of people at one time. But, oh my God. My spirit. But this has been another edition of the Artist Exchange Radio Show. I need a drink, and I think I drank a little too much on Tuesday. But this makes me want to drink or eat a cheeseburger or something, because I can't imagine being in a space right now where this is a thing, where this is a possibility, where this is something that happens. But that's the world we live in. That's how we get that.
Going back into the classroom?
Say it again.
Does this make you rethink going back into the classroom?
It does. Like, so many things are making me rethink going into the classroom. The fact that, I don't. For this specific issue, it really put something in me because I can't see myself being somebody who would not jump in front of these children, even the bad ones, jumping in front of them if somebody came. But that's my life thing gone. And I don't think the people who legislate or create laws or are sworn into offices even care about the people who put themselves in front of those children only to get their head shot off. I don't think they're even thinking about them in this manner. They can't, I don't understand how that would take an evil person to have a thought and then still create legislation that blocks any type of progress in improving the laws, whether it be, obtaining a gun or doing background checks. And those seem to be the two hot button issues because nobody's saying, I want your guns off the street. That's how the Republicans keep wording it. But the messaging keeps being, they want to take away our guns. No, we want to create legislation so the guns are in the hands or the safety of the right people. Because somehow these little teenagers or 20-something-year-old crazy-ass people keep getting access to schools and they're shooting people up for nothing else. And most of these people have children or grandchildren. Why wouldn't you think about changing the rules so somebody doesn't come into your child's private school or charter school or suburban school and shoot shit up? Like, how devious or evil are the people at the NRA, but not wanting them to create legislation? And I understand the fear. If we get rid of these AK whatevers or assault rifles, then they're gonna get rid of my handgun eventually.
Please.
Right. That's how I feel.
It's so interesting because this happened right after, Skyline last Wednesday had a show on gun certifications and all that kind of stuff, talking about all that kind of stuff. And I think by now how I feel about guns and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And I only let that happen because guns are legal. I mean, they're not illegal as long as you get them the right way. But then now this happens, it makes me regret even letting that show air.
Yeah. And I get it. And like I said, I know why I have one, but I would never, I'm not a person that, because I have my neighbor got on my nerves or my landlord and I'm about to go get my gun. I'm not that person. I was taught.
But you had a specific reason for why you needed a gun. I have never had my home broken into. I have never been, outside of that one incident that I told you, we already discussed. I've never had an incident where a gun was in my life. Right. So as soon as I find out, any of my friends, if you're listening, you know who you are, that you got a gun in your home, I'm not coming over.
Yeah.
Because I know my mouth. I might say something to piss you off and then hear you going up to your gun locker to get your gun. Because I have a mouth on me. So I'm not going to put myself in that position. I'm going to stay my ass home. You keep your gun over there and you're safe.
Right. And I grew up with a gun. My mother had a gun. My stepfather had a shotgun.
If there were guns in my home, I did not know about them.
Yeah. And that was me. I found it. And that's what made my mother tell me what it was for and educate me on it and keep me from it. So I never played with guns. That wasn't my story.
That to me is considered concealment.
Yeah.
That it was a concealed weapon in the house that I had no idea that was there. Yeah. No one else outside of the home knew it was there, whether they were coming in or not to be harmful or not. They had no idea this gun was in here, and that's considered to me to be unsafe for me because you stumbled upon it. What if somebody else came in and stumbled upon it that was tick tick boom?
Yeah.
And now everybody's dead except for the one that's not the person that lives there.
Yeah. And that's
if the gun wasn't there is no tick tick boom reason because you can tick tick boom, but you go tick tick boom with your hands.
Right.
And I can fend against that. But the bullet coming at me 1,000,000 miles per hour, I can't fend against. It's going to get me.
And that's one of the, and to be honest, that's one of the reasons why I don't have a lot of people in my home. And I could really count on one hand how many friends that I have at my home. But it's one of the reasons that I choose that, because I don't want to ever have to be in that space where I have to use it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't ever want to be in that space. And I've had my home broken into before. I've been held up 3 times at gunpoint. So it's something that is a real concern for me. And I didn't live in a bad area. So it really was puzzling to me. And I live, and I'm not so exposed. You still got to get a key to get into my building itself, even before you get to my apartment. It's the reason I always live on the top floor. It's a reason, I always try to safeguard myself so I don't have to resort to that. I'm going to make it so difficult for you to get inside. But at the same time, I've been in spaces, and there are times where I have it with me. Like, you always see me, I always have a big bag with me. And that's one of the reasons. And I don't typically have it, but most times I do. If I know I'm leaving here late, I got it. Because I might have to use it. I've been in situations where I had to protect myself, and I don't like using it. And mace is not an option because people can eat mace. It's crazy ass people out there.
And then you might hit yourself.
Right, and I've done that. I've done it. Well, that was a part of the training. You had to, in order for me to feel comfortable using it. Even the gun, I made sure I knew how to use it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. I'm not a person. I don't even look at it if I don't need it. If I'm not taking it out with me, I don't even look at it. I'm not one of the person that goes to play with it and polish it and shit like that. I'm not doing that. Mm-hmm. But it worries me more when I see people, when I go into people's homes and they got them on display. Like that is crazy to me, and that makes me feel very uncomfortable. But I don't know. But
that's why I try to avoid them at all costs, because I know temptation is a bitch. And when something is put in front of you, you sometimes want to touch and feel on things, and then you lower your inhibitions to being able to have one at home. Nope. Yeah. I don't want to touch one. I don't want to feel one, because I know me in particular. If the chance has come that I have to use one, I'll do it. Yeah. But I don't want to make it easy for myself either.
Yeah.
By having one in my home.
Yeah.
Because if push came to shove, I would have to use it versus fighting. I'd rather fight the criminal. I'd rather fight this burglar. If he gets in here, he getting his ass whipped with every tool that I can grab.
And honestly, I feel the same way. Even if something was to happen, I wouldn't even result. Well, my instinct would be to go for it, because I could stumble, or I could fall, or they could still get the best of me, or those things.
Or to be a complete gunfight because they got one too.
Right, exactly. So that's the part. That's the other side of me. Like, I don't understand. Like, I value you being able to have your amendment right and be able to, use your firearm and have your firearm. But why do you have the ones that are so deadly? What is the...
We actually spoke about this before in the Second Amendment thing, because I don't know how legal scholars are still trying to come up with this way of saying that gun ownership is a right.
Well,
because the full sentence to the Second Amendment says, a well-regulated militia, comma, being necessary to the security of a free state, comma, the right of people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
I think it's being interpreted now as...
Because they're trying to break away those commas. But those commas make the full sentence of the Second Amendment. And you not being a well-regulated militia is the first part of the Second Amendment. And that means individual homes are not regulated militias.
Well, I think the historical element was they did not have a formed policing system. So the militia were the individual homeowners. Well, at that
They
time,
were not.
but
The
they were. There
Constitution was
wasn't
written
it
at the
wasn't
time of
but
war.
it wasn't a organized policing system. So they were simply your neighbor and you both own guns, and we then go out and protect our town. That's what it came out of, and now it's being interpreted as I get to protect my own home, my personal home.
So now that there is a uniformed police,
Right. Right. Well, shit, I gotta protect myself from them. So, even that argument is sometimes flawed.
so I go back to again what I stated in the beginning, where we would talk about all the different countries that have heavily regulated systems on gun ownership. You can't own a gun in Australia. You can't own a gun in New Zealand because why? I mean, not those. You can, but it's very, very regulated. In South Korea, you can't own a gun.
But also you have to understand what their crime rate is. And I know it's the chicken or the egg.
But there's no crime rate that will be related to guns if there were no guns.
I mean, but even places like Australia, it's not so long ago where they created that as law. But at some point, they realized,
but if you go back that far in Australia was a prison state. So there was still no guns except for the people that was guarding the prisoners.
But I understand both sides of it. But for me, I don't get how these things can keep happening and you don't feel differently. Not even for a moment. You don't hesitate like, maybe we should evolve the laws. But I don't understand how we are the majority in the Senate and the majority in the House, and we still aren't passing these laws.
It's all because we may be the majority. We are not the voting majority though, because it has to in the Senate it has to be 60%. We're 51. So they need 60 votes to pass a law.
But it's sad to me. It's sad because they still get their stuff across. Like they get it across. Like I don't get it. And this whole veto power stuff. Do the shit. I don't care about black versus white shit. Get the shit done that we absolutely need. And everything else we can fight for. But the shit that you have authority over making an executive order over, get it done. That's the executive order. Write it.
So then I guess the next question will be, how do we start the process of getting it done? My suggestion is to put it on the ballot.
It's a simple fix. Biden, get your ass in that office and get that executive order drafted and sign the shit. That's it.
He can't write an executive order against the Constitution.
Well, break a law. Trump did.
Has to be, that is a legislative process, and then millions of lawsuits in the Supreme Court.
But do something. Break a law.
Executive orders can't void the Constitution.
Do something. Do something. I don't understand how they're able to get this abortion bill passed. But you can't get.
Well, it's not a bill. It's a dissent from the Supreme Court.
But whatever the level of it is, do something
to stop
I don't want
I agree. But that's why I said, what is the next step? What is the steps to doing it? My recommendation was to put everybody in their particular states, make a referendum to their state houses on putting it on the ballot. And make it a definitive. This is definitive. Everybody will have their chance to vote on this, on how you want it, and we can see definitively in a majority rule setting what we want. Do you want you can put the question several different ways too. If somebody says, "Do you want the Second Amendment to be, guns to be gone or not?" Yes or no.
Right.
Do you want this to be heavily regulated? Yes or no. Do you want abortion or not? Yes or no. Those three questions, bam, on a ballot. That's not a couple. That's not extra steps, because it's always money questions on there. Who we going to fund this year? What library are we going to build? What building are we going to give this loan to? Then you can add those questions to the ballot, and we can get some definitive answers now from the people, not from the representatives that ain't doing shit for you, because they don't care about you once they're in office. They say they do, but they're not listening. They're going off of their own agendas.
But that's how it actually gets on the ballot. They still need that person to put it on the ballot.
Right, but the process of getting something put on the ballot is a requirement of voting people that actually have rights to vote, citizens to sign to say put this question on the ballot.
Right.
So if you get these list of signatures that says that we would want this put on the ballot, then you give it to your representative, then he has to make the motion for this to be put on the ballot.
Mm.
And until we start doing that and making sure that what we want is being presented, nothing's going to change. Nothing is going to change, because we're talking to each other and we're talking to the world, but this is because we have this platform. The lame person outside right now that's not listening to us don't know what to do next.
Yeah. Yeah.
But until we get these processes into a place where we can actually bypass Congress and get our questions answered from our own mouths, we're going to still be right here. Because everybody's talking to the media and all that kind of stuff, but the media is only there to report the news. They're only there to report to you what's happening, or what their opinions are on what's happening. That's not a decision. That's not a definitive choice. That's not making change. That's just being an open mouth and an open source of listening. We need definitive change. And if you're not going to follow the rules and do the process, then nothing's ever going to change.
Well, we can.
Let's say the last question we've seen added to a ballot, outside of all the loans that you approve and all this other kind of stuff, all these installment payments that you would pay on this damn entertainment district that's being built downtown now, when we made those loans and stuff, was marijuana. And they approved it. That was when everybody said they wanted marijuana used for recreational use. But what happened to that? The politicians in charge said, no, but we'll look at medical marijuana. Then that got approved. But we said, the bill said, the ballot said recreational use.
Yeah.
That wasn't up for you to make the definitive decision to say, no, we're not going to give you that. We told you what we wanted.
Something has to happen with these special interests and how they're being formed. I think they call it the PACs. All this stuff needs to be addressed, and it needs to be done away with, because the money that you make, it should be illegal for you to make money outside of what your salary is as a government employer. Like, it should be illegal. If I don't see it any different as, Mayor Sheila Dixon getting, a fur coat or gift certificate. It should be the same thing as somebody contributing to your reelection fund if they have a special interest. I think all that stuff needs to be done. I understand lobbyists, because often they are trying to get specific things passed, but the fact that people with money can influence a law more than any other citizen, I think it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that's abuse of the system. And we convict this person for doing it, but we won't convict this type of person for doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But people, I'm about to go have some fun, because this is stressful. It is very stressful. It is very, it's just like a circle with it. because this is going to die down, and then in another year or so, it's going to be another school shooting. Like, unfortunate.
Because it says, I'll say it again. It says a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. That's the first two parts of the Second Amendment. Then it says the right of people to keep and bear arms.
The wording needs to be evolved. Like, it needs to be evolved if it's going to mean, because it meant one thing back then.
But it does not say everybody in the world has the right to bear arms. That's not what it says. Everybody has the right to bear arms. It does not say that. That's not what it says. It says a well-regulated militia to the security of a free state. None of these people, you included, are not securing the state.
But that's what I'm saying. It's evolved into your own domain, your own home. It's not.
But that's not what the Constitution says. The Constitution does not say to the security of your own home. It says to the security of a free state.
Yeah, but the idea was there were no rules prior to this to you
owning
a gun.
But now there are rules. There is no need for you to have a gun to secure the security of this free state when there is a well-regulated militia, meaning the police. And we already have that well-regulated militia.
But the police don't do anything until you've already been shot and or killed. That's when they typically.
We see how that's counterproductive to the rule, because you've already introduced the sale of the guns because you've interpreted this amendment the way you wanted to interpret it so you can own guns. And now you've introduced the guns into society. So the reason you got shot is because a person that should not have had a gun in direct relation to the Second Amendment had a gun and shot you. But if you would have been doing what the amendment actually says, you wouldn't have got shot. Because they wouldn't have had access to an AK-15 or AR-15 or whatever the gun was, because they shouldn't have had access to it, because buying a gun as a single person that just turned 18 and did not join the armed forces or a police service should not have a gun. Because you are not protecting the free state. That is not your job, because you work at McDonald's.
That's a free state.
It's a slave state.
It's more of an argument to revise the Constitution.
But I don't believe it needs to be revised. It should be enforced the way it's written.
No, but that was a different time then. There were no rules prior.
But this is the rule. That's what I'm saying. If you listen to what I just said, it says a well-regulated militia.
The reason for that militia to be formed was because of the problems they were having with people just taking over.
The well-regulated militia is in existence now. The well-regulated militia is in its existence now. It's called, for us, it's called the Baltimore City Police Department. That is the well-regulated militia.
But they never evolved the rule though, because the militia was the everyday citizen. It wasn't a specific
back then, but that was also because it was wartime.
But it wasn't wartime. It was just it wasn't wartime. This was just the law of the land.
When this amendment was written, because remember, this was not a part of the Constitution initially, because it was also wartime. They created this amendment to be amended for wartime. The reason that you own a gun at home is because
it was the idea for the draft. That's where the draft idea came from. That was the whole purpose of it. It's kind of split for you being drafted into the army and or you being a part of the police.
And that's what I say. But here in America, we always try to make up things to justify words. But words come with definitions.
They have to spell it. It has to be plain now. It has to be plain.
I don't understand how more plain it can get from saying a well-regulated militia. Militia meaning an army.
Different there, because the militia was your neighbor. It was you.
Because you were a part of wartime processes.
Yeah, but it went beyond just wartime. It became the way that they protected their cities or their towns or their neighborhoods.
Exactly. The protection of a free state.
Yeah, but
That's now gone
who was
away, and
doing
you
it,
have now created a
but
well-regulated
the person
militia,
who was
meaning your
doing it
police
was not.
department.
There was no sheriffs or deputies
But
at the
today
time.
there are.
It is, and I understand it, but that law needs to then be written or updated in terms of how it's written. Because now that interpretation then is different from what that means now.
But it's not an interpretation. That's what I'm saying. When you were chosen to protect your town, your city, or whatever, you became a part of a well-regulated militia. Then you created the well-regulated militia and gave them their entity, and then endowed them with powers and their own set of constitutional rights.
Gun, though. But everybody already had a gun, though.
Right, but now everybody has updated their gun to something new. That's what shouldn't have been allowed.
But everybody had a gun. But those select individuals who chose to step outside of those individuals and be the face of the protection.
So I guess what you're saying is let's use this. In 1950, the gun they had then is the same gun they have now? No.
No, and that's what I'm saying. So it has to be updated in terms of where we are today, because it's been loosely interpreted.
But that's what I'm saying. Okay, right there. That's what you just hit the nail on the head. It's been loosely interpreted, and interpretations are wrong because words have meanings, and the meaning of words when you form a sentence is just that.
Yeah, but that's the problem with the Supreme Court. What judges they interpret the law, and they interpret it based off of where we are now, what the rules are now.
To interpret this into today's world is to say that everybody's home is their own separate militia.
Yes, and that's how it's being interpreted right now. That is
and that's
part
wrong.
of the problem.
And that's completely wrong.
It's wrong, but that's how it's been interpreted because everybody already had a gun. The individuals who stood out and became a part of the militia were just a separate unit of neighbors. They weren't deputized. Eventually they became the paddy waggers who would go around and pick up the slaves, so on and so forth. But outside of that, even those people were just citizens who just were given certain authorities to be able to do things. So the law has been interpreted as we went along, because those same people who became a part of the first militia also became a part of the slave issue.
So in the state of this now, what they have done is said they crossed out. So in the interpretation of today's world, what you're saying is they've crossed out a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of the free state. All of that has been crossed out.
Right. All that's been crossed out to mean my own dwelling or dwellings.
Right. So then it goes on. So with that being crossed out, the Second Amendment is basically saying the right of people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Yes. And that's that, and because we've allowed time to be the interpreter, because now we have a militia.
Because then the only question you can really have is, do you live in a free state?
And the assumption is that we all do.
And then the next question would be, do you have a police department?
And the answer will always be yes, but
no.
I'm just saying. That's why
no, I know. I get what you just saying. Yeah. I get what you was going with that. But I was about to say there is no but. The answer to the question was yes. Period.
But it's been that loosely interpreted. Why I keep saying it? Interpreted all these years.
I get what you're saying. No, I get it. That's why we're talking about this now, because of the loose interpretation of ongoing gun ownership. But I just wanted to break down what the Second Amendment actually says versus what the interpretation is. And the interpretation is wrong because none of these people that live in 1202, 1204, 1206, 1208 have anything in common to make a militia.
But we have to also understand that if we do that with that amendment, or we do that with that right, all the other ones will then be affected.
It should. It should. Because words mean something, and the Constitution was written for it to mean something to everybody. And making interpretations on the Constitution is what's wrong.
But we have to be careful with that, because I would say things need to be rewritten. But if we go solely based off of how it's written, we are not free people. In terms of
we were freed in the. I thought we were. Wait a minute, hold on.
The amendment freed us.
That's what I'm saying.
It's something that expired also. That amendment expired.
Amendments don't expire to the Constitution.
Technically, our freedom was something that was able to be, it expired. Because it expired, what was that, in like the early 2000s?
Well, amendments to the Constitution don't expire.
Read it. Our freedom as Black people expired. What was it? Our freedom? No, yeah, it was our freedom, and our right to vote, and our right to vote, 15th. And our right to vote. Women, people of color, that right can expire. Now, traditionally, they're not gonna say, "Well, we got to take that back now. That expired." So traditionally, it keeps going. But if you go by how it was written, a lot of us won't be free. A lot of us won't have certain rights, inalienable rights. So let's watch out interpreting things literally as they're written, because some of our asses be back in the field or without a ability to vote.
The thing is, servitude hasn't ended. I mean, slavery has ended, where you're not working for no pay. But servitude has not, because we still make a minimum wage.
In the jail system, like you said, minimum wage.
Well, that's not jail is totally different, because jail, you lost your rights.
Yeah, but there's still a slave system built into it, though.
Right, but see, it's not really a slave system when you are working to pay for your room and board.
But that's not how it's set up, though. That may be how they justify it. But
it is how it's set up. It's set up for you to pay for your room and board, and not for you to be a burden on the state, on taxes. Set up for them
to create products in order for them
to
go.
But it also comes from being able to get a job when you get out.
But do they
call that slavery
No.
When you have lost your freedom because of the crimes that you committed against the public? I don't know if that would be considered slavery. I wouldn't justify that being slavery, because you lost your rights. You committed a crime. You broke the laws of being a citizen, because you wouldn't have been in here if you didn't break the law.
But they often pay them a wage that is so low that it's not even sufficient. Like change, almost.
It is. It's pennies. It is pennies.
So,
I mean, I get what you're saying there.
I mean, but it's still a system. Whether it's justifiable or not, it's still the same type of system that has been built in. Because now that's what the private jail, the argument towards privately are.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're making such a profit off of the work of these individuals, and there's not a system built in where, if like you can say I have a certificate in plumbing when I leave this facility, but will they let me use it when I get out? And many cases, saying that, well, just the community. Well, the community look at that in the same
exactly.
way.
But that's not. I mean. That's not a ding against the system, though. That's a ding against society.
Well, I mean, because it has to be something like, if I go to college.
Because you're supposed to, I mean, as a societal reflection, you are supposed to accept these people as reform, and that's what we don't do.
Yeah, but the system is set up where, though, once you leave, oh well. Because the same way, if you go to college.
And that's not true, because you knew what I did. You knew what I do for a living.
I know. I didn't want to bring it
a year
up,
ago.
but I'm saying.
And that was
I
our
get that.
responsibility to make sure people, that's why you don't hear about a whole bunch of people being unable to get work, because that was our responsibility to make sure they did get work. And that's what I can say about my former job.
But adjacent organizations like the one that you formerly worked with specifically have.
We didn't work with private prisons though. We worked with state prisons.
And see, they purposely put in programming where it would be from cell to reality, and you could transition what you've done. But a lot of people, they get certificates in there, and people don't take them seriously. It's like you go to BCC, and you're like, oh yeah.
Well, I can say when it comes to that now, and well, in most states, I ain't gonna say all states, because some people still have that on the books where they don't hire ex-cons and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. In most states, that's now illegal. You can't even ask.
Yeah. But you are allowed to do a background check.
Right, which is then when that's going to be fessed out. But you can't do that before giving them the job.
Yeah.
You have to go through the whole entire interview process. They have to go through the hiring process, be hired, then run the background check. And if the background check comes up, then you make that decision on whether you want to still go through with the hire.
Which is
but
dumb.
they have to be offered the job before you run a background check.
But that's just crazy though, because it's still doing the same thing. Now you're
kind of not though, because it gives the interviewer the opportunity to be honest and tell them how they recovered and how they have now changed their lives and what they are doing different. That's part of the interview process, and when you're getting to know your employer.
For ideal employers, but most employers are still going to look at the fact that you have a record.
Right, but they don't know that beforehand. But if you tell them up front, that gives them a better basis on trying to learn who you are. That's the whole point of that. Because you made a mistake in your past, shouldn't continue on to your future. And if you give them the opportunity to learn that before they run that background check.
To me, it's still flawed, because even once you are given the job, there have been people who have actually began working, and the criminal background check come back and they lose their job. And some people, there is a decision.
And most times that's because the employee themselves wasn't upfront. If you knew you had a record and you didn't disclose it because you wrote on that application, you checked the box and said no, then that's you. You lost your job because you lied.
I'm speaking now that is not on the hiring process until you're actually, like you said, offered the job. Mm-hmm. Then you're asked that information.
Right. But you wasn't upfront either. Because you knew it was a possibility of it coming out. Especially if they told you they were going to run a background check, you knew that was a possibility of it coming out. So you wasn't upfront.
Well, because some companies don't. Some companies don't do background checks, or it's not. But in
your example, you said they got fired after the background check.
Well, yeah, because I think that was a part of the transition where people weren't allowed to put that on the questionnaire anymore. Mm-hmm. So people would go through the process of getting a job, and then they would have a background check done once they've been offered the job. Some people started working.
Right. So again, I tell you, even in our trainings, our trainings, we tell them that this question is not going to be asked anymore, but you should be upfront with your employer, because they may run a background check, and that is going to come up.
And that happens. That's, and even on the side of debtors, that being made into a criminal act now, because you can be denied employment if you owe the federal government money.
Because it depends. Because when you run that background check, it tells you exactly what your charge is. And if you are coming to be a bank teller and you got your charges that you robbed a bank, then you don't qualify to be a bank teller.
Well, I mean, but that's the criminal side of it. If you are in debt for whatever reason, you are still denied. So that's the other side.
And that also depends on what kind of job it is. If it's, again, dealing with money.
Well, debt is always money.
Yeah, but you can't be a credit analyst if your credit's messed up.
Well, how do I get it to me is because I remember this happening when I first owed Coppin money, and I went to go when they first opened up the casino, and I was gonna get a part-time job at the casino. I literally had the job. Like, I had the job. And this was a manager. This wasn't even working directly with the casino. I was gonna be a manager at the pizza place. You know, the pizza place we go to. That was gonna be my job. And I couldn't even get the job at that time because I owed Coppin money. And I was like, how the fuck you gonna prevent me from getting a job? And
what they must have ran a credit check.
Just take the money out my check.
Oh, I know why. And I wonder if it's because your credit mattered because you were going to be a manager.
Well, it wasn't my credit. It was the fact that I owed Coppin money. My credit was fine.
Right, but the fact that you owed Coppin money was on your credit.
Well, it wasn't, no, because I was currently paying for it. But the fact that I owed the money to the federal government.
It may have made you ineligible to make decisions for the job.
Which is ridiculous because it's a college debt. It's not as if I
know, I understand what you're saying. But I'm trying to step in the shoes of that manager because I've had that. I've had that come up when interviewing people to work for us or any of my jobs. I've had that issue where when you run your credit, say for instance, I'll give you this example. A company can have a corporate credit card, right? A corporate credit card has to be guaranteed by an executive level person, right? So if we came in and said, okay, this last person, this executive director is leaving, so now you have to guarantee this credit card, right? And I'll use it a different way other than school. This person is supposed to be this new executive director is in the middle of buying a home. Their credit is now untouchable. Because now you're locked into a process of purchasing a home and it's on your sheet as a line item that you have now been, you have an approval for a home loan. When they go do that guarantee for, let's say, American Express, that thing is going to come up and they won't be eligible to guarantee the credit card anymore. So now we have to let you go because you can't keep up the priorities that we need you to keep up.
But I understand that process, but it's flawed because if I'm buying a home, that's why I need a job. Or if I am in school and the debt is because they gave me money and I have to pay that money back, I need a job to be able to pay that back. So it's not even on a criminal side of me doing something. It's not like I stole money or...
No, I completely agree with you, but it's just on that credit basis thing is real hard to get over, though, because it hurts the business from being able to keep their business purposes going by you not being able to guarantee it.
And I get that, but if we take that all the way back to banking systems preventing certain people from being able to move forward in life, it's a problem for me across the board because you're now making someone who chose to go to a higher education to get more education, and you're making them almost criminal. You're making them seem as if they're criminal. So now they can't even get a job to pay. So how are they to get the work? You know, how are they, you know, it doesn't make sense to me when these types of systems are set up. So that's why a lot of people complain about systematic racism, because that's where it comes from. You know, and even so this happens to white people as well, but it happens more to people of color because I went to school and I got a loan and I got grants and now I owe this money back to either the federal government or straight to a state funded institution. And now I'm put into a category and I'm no different than a criminal who has a criminal background. Like that's the part that has always been crazy to me. So, because that was the only time something like that has ever happened to me. And I literally was in the fingerprinting office, getting my fingerprints and getting my ID when the letter came back to them, like literally in the office, getting those things done. The owner, I've known him since, well, the guy who was the general manager of it, he even had to change his process. So, because he would pay for the person to get the background check from the casino,
Mm-hmm.
and he would just absorb the fee. I guess he would write it off or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And now I remember him saying he can't do it anymore because
What, do the background checks?
like he wouldn't pay for it up front. Like you had to pay for it yourself at that point.
Oh, got you. You get to go get
So
your
I
own
felt bad.
background. You basically had to pay for your own background check. Mm-hmm.
I felt bad for people that came after me because I fucked that up for them. But I mean, I went to school. I was
Right,
in
because you could end up running 100 different background checks with the same results.
and for me, everything else checked out. My resume, my ability to be able to manage that space. Like he was just looking for a second GM. Like he was trying to train a second GM. And everything, you know.
Oh no, I've had it happen several times in the hiring process where I had to discontinue the hiring process because, credit in this particular position really matters. Because a lot of these things have, a lot of things that a company has to do has to come off a personal guarantee.
But it's just, and I get that, but it's just still, you should fall into a different category where you're not unemployable. It should be, we're going to have to usurp a portion of this check until that is paid off. Like that, it happened. Like I know I worked for Sprint before, and me and my friend applied for the job. My friend owed money to Sprint, but they did not hire him. They just said, okay, this is how much we're going to take out your check every month until that past bill is paid off. And I was like, damn, they can do that? But that was better than them saying, no, you can't be employed here because you're almost making that person criminal. Well, they are considered a criminal at that point, or on the status of not a criminal, but they're getting the same treatment as a criminal will get because my criminal background check came back clear as it always does. But that, like you said, the financial side of it, that's where the problem came. And that's dumb to me. That should be, okay, we're going to give you this job, but it automatically, you have to, because now we know you're trying to get employment, it's going to come out of your.
I see what you're saying when it comes to, especially when it comes to the education stuff that's on your credit. That should be kind of bypassed when it comes to that kind of thing. Well, but like I said, when the home thing is kind of different because that does directly affect what you can do.
Your ability to be able to pay for it.
It directly goes against other places. Though. You can't do if you're in the middle of home buying, you can't get a credit card, you can't go buy a house. I mean, you can't buy a car, you can't do anything. It locks you. And that particular person was locked.
You're not supposed to go out and make any major purchases or
exactly.
Anything.
And she couldn't. Basically, on the reference of American Express, she cannot be a guarantor.
But that's still and see, even that's a flawed system. Because I even though I'm the individual having to guarantee that, this is still an organization. So does that mean if the organization goes bankrupt, I'll be responsible for that?
You are the person that is held responsible for the company's finances because you are the executive director. Regardless of what this is an organization of, you have to guarantee the money that is being used because you are responsible.
And I get that because as a business, I've applied for business loans.
Yeah, because you are responsible for paying back if they can't pay.
But even
and then you are responsible for generating the revenue to pay the bill.
But it should still, and I get it, but unless you have a criminal record, it should not work against you. It should be, well, you need somebody else in the company to also sign. It should not.
No, it was two. It was two. I was already there. I'm a guarantee.
But I'm saying, like, if that person couldn't do it, it should not prevent them from being able to get a position that can move them up, so they are able to pay back.
Oh no, that's why I said in this particular thing, it was the top of the job. It was the executive director position.
Oh yeah, I remember you saying that.
So it's nowhere else to go. Either you work here as executive director or you don't. And now that you can't qualify because you can't guarantee the job, you can't. We couldn't. It was nothing we could do.
But that system has always been weird to me because I work for a company. I worked for a company like that, and I saw something like that happen similar, but the person wasn't at the top. And
now, see, it also goes against whether well, in the old days, it used to be everybody. If you had a corporate credit card, everybody had to guarantee it personally. Now they changed that because you can't consider an employee a guarantor.
Yeah,
because they're not a stakeholder. Where the executive director is responsible for bringing in money and expelling money, so they are a guarantor. They have to be a guarantor.
I definitely agree with that position, but it starts to happen across the board where it still happens. Like I said, that was just how long has this thing been up? It was just that I mean I know it's been a minute, but it hasn't been that long in the 2000s since that happened. The casino.
Mm-hmm.
That something like that can still happen. Like debtors.
Yeah, see, I don't know that education one. I don't think that. I like you said, I don't believe that should have happened because education should be separate and apart from credit. It doesn't even count against your credit score, and it counts a bit against your debt.
Yeah.
So that one that doesn't make sense. And he may have been interpreting it wrong.
Well, no, that because it's owed to a federal entity. That was what the problem was. So state, if you owe to the state or the federal government, those rules apply to you. So I think it is, I can't remember what the lady called it, but I had to go to, I had to call the school up to see what the bill was and figure all that out because they didn't understand why it was coming back like that because I had basically had the job already.
Mm-hmm.
Like I literally had gotten badges and, all the credentials that you need to be able to get inside of the building. All that had been done. So I had the job. It was just once that came back, that then became the red flag. Like he owes through Coppin State University. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that is the dumbest. So you should automatically go into a system of having to pay back. So now, because they never garnished my wages from teaching. So it wasn't like it was such a debt that I had not ever paid on. But for you to prevent me from getting the job where I was paying, my idea was to pay off what I owed. That was the whole purpose of me getting the job. And I was like, that's dumb. Like, how do you prevent somebody to get a job that wants to pay off what they're doing?
Right.
But that was so it's just a lot of old systems that are outdated that I think need to just be rewritten or evaluated because it has real life effects on people because it's written a certain way. Mm-hmm. And it's so outdated from what the initial purpose of it was.
But I understand because if you recall, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, none of these things were in process. These things were developed to stop people from getting these high-end jobs that can't afford to guarantee the work that they're doing.
But it's just like...
But I understand what you're saying, but I know why these things were developed because a lot of people were getting these high-end jobs just to get these, giant paychecks, but weren't actually qualified to uphold all of the regulations that went with it. You can imagine somebody having a $100,000 credit card, but couldn't guarantee it, but was also the executive director of this organization, but was taking this money and spending it on whatever. So and the revenue wasn't coming in to pay these bills.
But that's then for these organizations that is like being able to guarantee financially. I think there needs to be a better system where the business itself is held liable for that versus me being a person who wants to pay off debt.
But that's why that came up because the businesses used to be held liable for it. And then you have a business that folded and you still in good standing, but you was the one spending the money.
Right. But
so how is the business to recover from that when you was doing something wrong?
But see, that's where, I think that's the exception because then that gets into the criminal side of it. But if you're already saying a person is...
But how is the bank supposed to protect themselves from you doing a criminal act? in the name of a company.
And I
The money's never going to come back. That's my point. My point is the money is even if you do something criminally, the money's still gone. So we got to protect our hand before the money's gone.
And I get that, but it creates a system of keeping certain people out. Like somebody may have just fallen on bad times. So how do I?
And that is unfortunate, but your bad times can't make American Express go through the bad time with you.
And I get it, but I don't feel like an individual should be held responsible for that. Like especially if you are.
Who is supposed to be responsible for your debt?
Yeah, and but I think the assumption is you're not being, like, for me, I was actively paying off my loan.
And I think that should have counted as a plus for you. I agree that should have counted as a plus for you, especially if you were actively making payments. It shouldn't have been a ding against you to have a federal loan. I agree with you there.
Because of the negligence or the criminals.
But that's not the circumstance of everybody. Some of these, some of your classmates haven't made a payment in 5 years, some of them. And that would be the protection that would protect American Express or the pizza place from them.
Right.
I'm just sorry that it happened to you because it shouldn't have happened to you if you was actively making payments.
But that happens a lot to students, so that then becomes a problem, and that adds to the debt that a student takes on because many companies won't hire you on because it becomes a debt. And I did all this education so I could get those jobs. Now I can't get those jobs that will afford me the amount of money for me to be able to live comfortably and pay off debt. So now I got to go work.
Believe me, I understand the process because it was a turnabout thing in my own head when I found when I knew I had to become a guarantor.
Yeah.
But I already had good credit, but I didn't want to. I was skeptical on the stance of, I don't know if I want you to use my credit to guarantee this place. But if this place folds, then it does fall on me because I'm a guarantor.
And that's the problem that I had because at this point you're just an employee. So
exactly.
Why are you having to? Because
but I was the financial. I had to be the financial guarantor because that was my position.
Right. But I'm saying. That then affects what you can do in your personal life.
But in all actuality, I must say this. I must say this on the positive side of it. It actually didn't go against me. It actually improved my credit because it was American Express.
Right.
So I can't say that because
the opposite for somebody.
It does, and it could, especially for those that don't have American Express. But American Express on certain cards require you to pay it back 100% after using it, which is how I set it up. I set up our accounts to be a paid back 100%, which was a plus in my category because it kept shooting my credit scores to the roof.
But that's probably because you realized you were connected to it.
Exactly. When I became when they told me, they asked me, because they didn't tell me, they asked me if I was guaranteed. When they asked me, I was like, I had to see a couple months worth of bills first before making the decision. Sure, I'll guarantee it. Once I saw that and that they were being paid 100%, I was like, okay, I got you. No problem.
Right.
Because that will work in my favor.
I think a lot of stuff like that is.
All right, we gotta go.
To be improved.
We gotta go.
I think it really just needs to be improved on because it's not really. It's hurting people that it should be helping, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
I really think and I understand people just did not do what they were supposed to do in those positions.
Sure, right.
But at the same time, it's still hurting people who want to move forward and want to be able to live and pay off things at the same time. Like, I don't like owing people, but it just, when you're getting out of college, it really, you have to. That's the part of the game. And nobody says, don't only take the grants, don't take the loans. You just saying, oh, I'm going to get a couple G's back for my, for my whatchamacallit. And that's the problem. But I don't know. I just think a lot of that stuff, going back to the Constitution, just needs to be amended or improved in terms of the language of it. But that's where we at. So this has been a very extended version of the Artist Exchange Radio Show. We'll be back next week, and we can actually continue a lot of that because I think that's a good conversation, especially for business owners or just employees, I guess. But especially dealing with the gun lobbyist rules and regulations and all that. But yeah, peace out, people. I need a nap. I need some food. Yeah. So peace out, everybody. Enjoy your time. Come on down to the studio, 1734 Maryland Avenue. I got to clean it up because I ain't been in here consistently this week. So come on down. We have a special
What are those on that wall back there?
On this wall?
Yeah. What's those?
They're earrings, but they are like pictures. There's pictures on them.
Oh, okay.
I zoomed in. Can you see it? I think
no, because that's your forehead.
Oh.
All right. Now I see them. Okay. Oh, they're nice. That Tina Turner?
Yeah, that's Tina Turner.
And
she's the only one that's alive.
Mahalia?
Yeah. I thought I was picking only people that had died, but then I was like, "Ooh, Tina Turner not
Tina
died."
Turner is so alive.
So, oops. But yeah, so peace out, people. Come on down here, 11 a.m. until 1 p.m. I didn't say 1 p.m., 2 p.m. I'll be here till 2 p.m. because I'm going to celebrate in DC. We're actually going to see DDM. He's performing at the Kennedy Center for DC Pride. So if y'all want to join us, come on down. I think it's at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock tomorrow. So we're going to drive over to DC and have some fun for the day.
All right.
Yep. So bye, people. I'm getting sleepy. This has been I gave people an hour. So, yeah. Peace out. Bye.